was the last new aircraft that you?
Lord, please. That all sectioned off for a reason. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. Yeah, what the heck is that, huh? We'll get into that later at the spiritual report. Actually, during the solar report, we'll talk about this. Okay? So let's pull on back here. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. I told you I would be back. So, welcome back. While we're getting loaded up here, first off, I'd like to thank all of you for taking a moment of your precious time to be here with this precious family. Many of you have figured it out and have realized how precious indeed this family truly is. Okay, so here we go. June 18th, 2024. There's your loop playing right there. Now, there's a lot going on in here, and well, we're just going to have to start kind of dissecting away. So, one of the first things I want to point out is a new style of event, and you can really see it when it's sped up. So, I'm going to speed it up. And this right here, coming out, circling back around, and going in. You see that? Now that's a new effect. I would love NASA to explain that one. You know, I want your solar dynamics physicist, your solar physics department to explain to me what's going on there. Oh, it's a filament that released way too far out. This is the sun. Filaments only release like this far out. They don't go all the way past the occulter. This thing's way out there. It flips a U and goes back in. I mean, you can't miss it. Anyways, let's slow it down. And now that you see the action, let's go back to normal here. And you see that thing coming out. Now we also have well, that event, this one right here that's carrying a bunch of plasma with it. We have this long duration event up here. Wait until you see what's going on there. And then we also have right here this event over here. Okay. I want you to watch right here. Nothing happened. There's nothing going on except it starts right here and splits and goes in two directions. All right. So we're going to start picking away at all of that here. So let me get around to the first frame here. Yeah, we got a lot to cover here. So everybody grab your snacks, your drinks. And this isn't even all the data. It ends at 1824 with this eruption right here. Last frame. Uh-oh. All right. So next opening frame, 024 of June 18th, 2024. Let me just slide a little bit so I can grab some of that button. All right. So long duration event going on up here. Okay, so during all this process, this thing is long duration going on the whole time, which kind of appears to be by the flow looking like it's coming off the top of the sun. Okay, we're getting everything in frame here. Okay, that's good enough. So while that whole thing's going on, we have this process going on the whole time. Now, right here is our little event. You can see one black side and one black side already splitting. Let me back it up. Okay, note this area. There's nothing going on. There's no CME coming out. There's no explosion, right? There's nothing going on there. Something originates from this spot, splits into two, and goes two different directions. Okay, so you can see a little round object here going this way. So what I believe is happening here is there are magnetic field lines that come out of the sun like in a donut shape, a torus shape, that come out in a donut, go around, coming out of the screen at us, back into the screen around the backside and coming out. So the equator of the sun has this donut shape, right? When these objects interact with some of the outer rings of this donut structure, okay, the magnetic torus field, when they hit, they almost act like a rock skipping on water, and they leave a little splash. When they hit a certain boundary level, they interact magnetically. It's a certain polarity, whatever. They match frequencies and then pull apart, bing. And you can see that what happened, it was this little round object dipped in there, made like a little splash. Imagine, okay, a lot of this motion in our plasma follows the laws of fluid dynamics. So, okay, pretend, this will help a little bit. Say there's a fire hose spraying at you, but the middle of the nozzle isn't spraying you. It's just the stream around the outside that's coming at you, okay? Now, there's this big cone of water flowing towards you. It's not hitting you directly in the face, so you can see the cone, right? The cone of spray that's kind of coming your direction. If there was somebody on the back side of that cone of spray and skipped a rock into that cone, it would cause this kind of wake disruption. The rock get caught in the flow of the water and just, come out with it. And that's the kind of splash effect I think we're seeing there. Okay, so there's this event, which is different. I mean, we've seen it before, but it's not every day that you see that one. Okay. So we had the little splash event. We also had this thing coming out, turning around and going back in. Meanwhile, this is still going on the whole time. Okay, something came out, turned around, and is going back in. You see that? Hits the brakes and starts going in reverse back in. Or just parks right there. It kind of stops and parks. Then, okay, we have this event coming out down the bottom. Let me back up and we'll cover that one as well. So over here on this side, you can see our object coming out. It's magnetically grabbed a bunch of plasma. As it's coming out, you see the little tail of hot plasma that's streaking back behind it. Over here, it's glowing white on the instrumentation here. You see our magnetic field around it. Okay, let's go, because I want to show you something. Let's see if it captures this little swirl effect that's on top of this. Get all the squares just right and darken it. Darken it a little more. Take the arrow out of the way. Yeah, you see this little tail of plasma that's stretching back. The spheroid itself has grabbed a bunch of plasma. There's some streaming around it like this in the front of it, swirling around, plus this little tail coming back. We can go in tighter than that. I can go tighter. What am I doing? Look at the screen that you're seeing, and I'm like, wait, that ain't big enough. There we go. Now you can see this ring right here going around the front. Little object's probably right in there somewhere. Then you can see plasma coming around the front of it, almost like a spiral going around it, and then the tail coming off and going back behind it. And then you can see this curvature, something going, maybe one of these orbiting moons going this way around it or something. Oh, can we, no, I want to stay there. Can we use the arrows now? So the thing's jumping, but I have to zoom back out. All right, pretty good shots there. Whoops, let's back this up. Can we? You can see it right in there. All right. What we can do, though, is zoom back out. Right and back up here. And then, oh yeah, we got to finish zooming out. All right, so there was a lot going on today, and that's not all of it. Okay, here over on this side, you can see our object over here. Nice spheroid object. It's still got plasma out in front of it and draping back behind it. You can watch it evolve on the black and white side as well. Okay, clearly there's an object there that's interacting with the sun, pulling plasma off of it, having, electromagnetic exchange with it, ripping plasma off and taking it with it. You can see this little dark patch at the very end over here. Let's go right here. You can see it's still moving away, but we have this final image here. It's really dark with ring of plasma. Then we have this event underway, starting to kick off. Meanwhile, we have another object up here. How are we going to capture this one? This one's kind of hard to capture, this upper one. So let me just try, at least. Go forward. No, not forward. Okay, this long duration event. Let's see if we can capture it here. Oh, we got to go faster. That's what it was. Let's see if we get a little darker. Okay, it's not catching it. Maybe slower tad, I guess. Okay, there we go. Now let me zoom in a little bit, not too much. It's kind of easier to see on this red side here. All right, there's a black sphere sitting like right here. You'll watch the plasma kind of drape around it. You get a couple good frames where you can make it out. And then at the very end, it kind of shifts, moves over this way, and pulls away with that last little surge. It's man, this isn't catching it. How are we gonna do that? More like this? No. It's right here. And this plasma is reaching up and interacting with something that's sitting there. Another blast hits it and it finally moves left and exits going this way. It's really faint. It's, if you come over to this instrument and monkey around a little bit, you can probably see it. But it's a long duration event. There's a black sphere that's like positioned right about here, and it finally switches over, moves on out. It's really faint. I don't think it's catching it. Well, maybe some of your trained eyes are getting good here. You might see what I'm talking about. And that's why it's kind of this long duration event. Also, look at our reverse vent here that comes out and turns and goes back in. Coming right there. It doesn't really define it too well there, but on this side here, we do half and half like this so you can see when and where it happens. So both sides detected it. You know, this side detects it a lot better, but it's still, you can barely make it out, punching back inward, going against the flow. Okay, so a lot of activity. We've got this splash separation type event right there. Your long duration thing sitting here for a minute. And it kind of shifts and moves on out. We got this one coming out down below, grabbing a bunch of plasma. So we got a lot of activity on the sun today. Having issues with your phone lately? Yeah. Welcome to spiritual warfare. That's okay. You can listen. It's okay. Well, hello, Southern Grace. I'm glad you stopped in and said hello. A lot of people are afraid to say hello, so that's good. I'm glad you're here and you made your presence known. Hang out, relax. We're just starting, so get your drinks, get all comfy, and let's go. All right, so there we go. A lot of activity on the sun today. Crazy activity on the sun today. All right. Also, what I was trying to show you in the intro was that triangle-shaped craft that we saw come out a couple of days ago. Remember that? So that was captured right after we saw it exit the sun and leave. About the next day or two later, that video was captured. We'll get around to that at the spiritual report at the end, but just saying, we got All kinds of stuff showing up. All right. Now let's get on over here real quick to our solar ham. Brighten up this screen a tad bit so I can see it. There we go. All right, zooming in. There we go. So you can see here was our activity today. Very strange day. It shows all kinds of activity, but our GOES X-ray flux doesn't necessarily mimic it because some of the activity that's facing away or away from our satellite or sensors doesn't get detected. So not every time does the GOES X-ray flux match the the activity that we see on the SOHO. But here's your GOES X-ray flux. One of those was an M flare today, 2.4. Imagine that. Okay, so we also have a little activity going into tomorrow here, the little M flare right there. You guys want to see that right there? You don't want to take a peek at the future? Really? You don't want to see this activity right here? Oh, well, we're going to do it anyway. So come back here. I do that to you guys, huh? I tease you like that. That's just one of my stupid little sticks. Okay, here we go. This is not many. Well, we got 26 frames right there. So here's the little event right here. It's this thing shooting out right here. Bingo. Let's pause it on open the frame. That good enough. So, wow, what happened here? Next, right here. Oh, okay. Remember, we had missing data. We left off at 18 something. So there's probably 5 hours or some odd missing data. So events have happened, and now we're picking up here at 024 of 619. That's what happened. I'm like, this does not match with the last frame we were just looking at. Oh boy. Okay, so am I too zoomed in or something? 125? No, that's good. All right, sorry, bouncing all over. Trying to slide it down and grab that button. Okay, opening frame. Bing, bing, bing. Look how everything's shooting out of the sun. We got spires going this way, spires going this way, all kinds of needles pointing out. Look at this over here as well, kind of, matching that same kind of pattern. Like when you drew the sun when you were a kid and it had all these little wacky arms reaching out of it and stuff. Remember when you used to draw a sun when you were a kid and had little points and little needles or whatever? Well, now the flow coming out of these needles, these magnetically, they pointing at a magnetic field. Something is pulling on the sun and pulling plasma out in the form of a little point like that. So they're indicators of inbound objects or something that could be passing further out of frame as well. So here we go. Yeah, we're at 6 of 26. Sorry, I'm just going all over the place. I'm a little bit better today. All right, so we have this object come out here. Very dark on this side. Where you see this plasma shooting out, right? But where's said object? Because these objects are dark. You see all the plasma that it's trailing behind? This line's probably going right over the middle of the sphere. Let's see, right there. Let's go another, boom, boom. Excuse me? Let me just zoom in on this frame really quick here. I want to the heck is... All right, well, you can clearly see something going on right here. The line's going right across it, kind of blacking it out. What's going on over here? I want to see something. Not every time does something moving along, activate the instrument, cause a CME or anything like that. Stuff is back in the flow. Imagine if you were, at the river and you see the flow coming, right? Something that's deeper down in below the water. We're seeing stuff that's interacting with, like, say, the surface of the water that, makes a bigger indentation, a bigger profile, where other stuff is back a little deeper, maybe further away. Maybe it's not so magnetically charged and latches on to plasma, but other stuff sneaks by in the background. All right, so let me just pull back out of that right there. So that was your activity going into tomorrow already. Okay, so start that one more time. Here's another thing kind of going inward right here into the bottom part of the sun now. So interesting activity that we're seeing. Clearly there is something different about the sun now. That almost looks like a ship or something. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of that. Let me slow it down a little bit. I'll get a little closer for you. The way it kind of shoots out of there doesn't drag a lot of plasma with it. I think that might be another visitor. One more click in right there should do it. All right, I see what I see. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. That just doesn't look like our typical, spheroidal activity that we're used to seeing. Because there is other activity going on besides that, too. Everybody's afraid to talk about objects that are interacting with the sun. So that subject's taboo right there in the first place. Then tack on this other stuff as well. All right, so we have to address it. All right, look, everybody get a grip. Wrap your head around. They admitted that UFOs are real. All right, I put 20 years of my blood, sweat, and tears and research into that field, and was just sorely disappointed when they announced it. Everybody went, oh yeah, next. That should have been earth-shattering, earth-changing, information. But then they just kind of brush it over, sweep it under the rug, and move on. So we have to, when we see that kind of activity sometimes, this may not be that. I'll let you be the judge. But we have seen other UFO activity interacting with the sun before. As well as, let's just address this really quick, too. This coming out, turning around, going back in. Let's go a tad bit faster right there. Okay. Possibly under intelligent, control. You see it come out, make a UE, go back in. It needs to be just a tad bit faster right there. There we go. Now we see the motion, but okay, you see it come out, turn around, go back in. What flips a U-turn? A UFO does. Okay. It's funny when they start, theorizing. Well, what does that? Is this what are we seeing here? You're seeing a UFO sometimes. When they're showing you real UFO footage or whatever. And, well, what are we seeing here, Bob? Well, I was 4 years old when I saw my first one, and I was like, I could have told you, any 4-year-old could tell you that's a UFO, Mister. It's just whether you believe it, wrap your head around it. Um, when you see one for yourself with your own eyes, nothing on YouTube or whatever, there is no doubt about it. It changes your life. It changes your perspective on the world. It's a life changing thing. Once you see one, you can't take your eyes off the sky. You're searching for another one, going, I don't believe what I just saw, right? So we have UFO activity that interacts with the sun. We're spirits. A lot of the activity is spiritual in nature. Okay. Um, we'll get into that. That even can't be explained here in the physical. It's something that you will understand when we get into the spiritual realm, when we're actually there. Okay. So it's just kind of beyond explaining and beyond trying to grasp. It just makes everything sound crazy. Ooh, it's showing up right here. Can you see? Can you guys see that? Barely. I saw it right there. Oh, maybe go a little darker. All right. Well, anyways, that was for this one. We got all kinds of activity. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. So going back to our solar ham now, we took a little peek at the future. We got another, well, object, craft, whatever we want to call it, whatever you saw, inducing a CME right there. Okay. Our explorer potential 10% with these three bad boys all in red, all facing us. Not a shot fired really out of these, thankfully. Lord, thank you. Not tempting you. I'm saying thank you. Not a shot fired out of these three dangerous ones. I would be screaming, raise that potential up there. But we haven't seen one, so that's good. Okay, I guess 10% is fine. 55 on your M flare, though, because we are seeing M flares out of this activity. All right. And when we're pulled back just a little bit further from this graph, look over here compared to over here. Slowly, you can see the main indice lifting. Your average, baseline getting a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. And by here, our baseline's mid C 3.5. All right. So our indices are climbing. And then let's take a peek here at our indices. Look, solar flux index is up to 193. It's up 13 points. We're 7 points away from going red and going above 200 on the solar flux index. Okay. Our sunspot count number is down 21 spots now. We're down to 150 sunspots. And our area is increasing. It's getting into the yellow. What is this? It doesn't show a decrease. Maybe it was a little higher than that earlier. All right, so let's move on. Yeah, 3 sunspots 37, 12, 13, and 16. That's the 3 we were talking about last night right here. I'm going to zoom you on in just a tad bit more. All right, 3712, the big monster down here. And when you look at it on the other angstrom, it's very reminiscent of that big sunspot that set off the geomagnetic storm, the one that looked very similar to the Carrington sunspot group. Okay, this one is pretty dark. It's pretty powerful, but the poles are split pretty decently distance apart, so they're not active. They're not, crossing and arcing. These ones also kind of split as well, so they're not arcing. These two fairly, distant apart, so they're not arcing as well. Watch this little region as it rotates into view the next couple of days here. Okay, so all three very, very nasty, sunspots got a lot of potential, but thankfully nothing firing off. So thank you, Lord, for protecting us from these sunspots. Now we have this region right where my little finger thing here. Let me get the pointer. Right about in there. Okay. When this sunspot group gets to about this region, that's where our IMF line, where we're connected magnetically. So until it, gets past, until it gets past the limb, basically, we're still kind of in the strike zone. All right. So it passed center disk. All right, without anything and it's heading away. That's good. Let's pray it takes a nice vacation around the backside, and guess what? We'll be coming possibly old 64, old 79, coming back around possibly if it survived the trip across the backside, which it may have. Okay. All right. Now, where we go next? Oh yeah. Covering the sun. Our geomagnetic forecast clear for the next 3 days. No inbound CME expected yet. Okay. You see our KP, nothing above 3. So we're leveling out. We're having little dips that go lower than KP3, but so far nothing above KP3, which is good. I would love that, dude. I'll take that all day. I don't want to see an unexpected geomagnetic storm come in and give us a G2 on a day we weren't expecting it. Okay. I don't like, saying, hey, this forecast, we'll see. I would rather see it all green. All right. Let's just not be surprised if there is a unexpected geomagnetic storm. Okay. These objects, when they're passing, if some of them pass close or interact with our planet, their field, their magnetic field has a lot of radiation in it and can interact with our field and give us a geomagnetic storm when there's no CME. It's just the passing of one of those objects with a lot of radiation coming off of it. I believe that's the reason for some of our unexpected ones. Okay. Not the expected ones, some of the unexpected ones. Okay. Here's your auroras for right now. They're looking really dim. That's not doing it justice because this is barely there and it's showing up a little bright on this end. Darn cameras are too good. No. All right, so here we are, June 18th. I'll read this little article. There's no events on the tracker. So another day, more coronal mass ejections leaving the sun. Although most appear to be far-sighted, a filament eruption in the northern hemisphere beginning around 1615 did generate a CME as well. And due to the high latitude location of this event, it should be directed mostly away from our planet. A further update will be provided if necessary, and solar activity continues at moderate levels on Tuesday with 2 low-level M flares detected around 3712. This is the one that we saw breaking off and missed the data, right? Because we came over to see what was happening next after this, and there was no event. But can you see kind of something circular about to erupt right there? I'd love to see the frames following this image right here. All right, here's a Ghost 16, big old filament reaching up. Looks like a old angel or something with wings spreading out. But there's your filament, far side activity. We already read this one yesterday. I want to open up the tracker real quick and do some track-a-lacking because we did have blasts that came off today. And I want to see if they're showing anything going any direction at all. All right, just a slight one going down that way. All right, so over here, what's this? Velocity. All right, so we're just going to see an increase in velocity here after, well, say the 20th. So here's the 20th right here where my finger is. This green line going up is Earth, but that's just velocity. It's not density. We're just going to see an increase possibly in the solar wind during that time, which has also been sparking some of these unexpected geomagnetic storms as well. We get a good blast from a coronal hole, and we get a weak magnetic field at the same time. Then we would see an unexpected geomagnetic storm as well. Okay, a couple of different factors in these as well. It's getting multifactorial. There are different factors. You think it's just one thing, it is that, and another factor sometimes too. So it's not just crystal clear cut one thing. There's also, well, additional factors that happen. When you understand the spiritual realm, you'll see God works in multiple dimensions with multiple meanings. So two things can be true at the same time. That's where a lot of people fail. They don't realize two things can be true at the same time. All right, beta gamma delta on 3712. All right, that's dangerous configuration. Both of these went beta gamma now. So, but they're just hanging. They're just kind of rotating away. That's good. All right, let's get on over to the spaceweather.com. Okay. 3 big sunspots. There's a good chance of an Earth-directed solar flare today. 3 big sunspots are facing our planet. All 3 have unstable magnetic fields that pose a threat for M to X class explosions. Okay. Now I'm glad this is still up. This article is still up. Good. All right, so superstorm zaps a global electric circuit. The geomagnetic superstorm on May 10th, 2024 did more than spark some of the best auroras in 500 years. It electrified our planet. Okay, I was showing you this right there. Okay, this in the opening, all right? Help me, Lord, how do I tell them this? Let's go back first to here. All right, so back to this. So keep this in the back of your mind because that happened during right after the geomagnetic storm. Okay, we absorbed a lot of energy from that storm. Remember the KP was maxed out the chart for a couple days, not days, but several hours in a row. So we did take a big absorption. Now, this little layout that we were talking about last night, all right, our planet has an electromagnetic field because the core is spinning inside the shell. I want you to picture the little tiny motor that's in a slot car, the little tiny motor that's in a fan. It's a round motor, your basic little positive negative motor that you hook up to a battery and it spins a small handheld fan. Your basic little motor, okay? That motor has magnets in it, and in the center on the shaft are copper wires wrapped around pods, right? So these copper wires, rotating inside magnets. Metal rotating inside a circular magnetic chamber creates a magnetic field that projects outside that motor. All right. When that motor is running, a huge electromagnetic bubble pops off of that little tiny motor. You can't see it, but the same with our planet. It hums at a little frequency. All right, and it generates a little electromagnetic sphere around it. It can't protect much unless it's a super big little motor. If you took a alternator type motor out of your car, that would generate a bigger field, right? So we have a metal core rotating inside magnets. The structure of the planet is magnetic, okay? Where do you think we get magnets from? It comes from structure in the earth. When pressure squeezes molecules into straight lines, all of a sudden things go magnetic. So what we're seeing is inbound galactic radiation. The geomagnetic storm came in, penetrated the earth, absorbed it. A lot got transferred to the poles. The poles directed down to the core. The core swells. The pressure builds. We get volcanic. We get earthquakes. But when there's too much pressure and it's not being vented via the earthquakes and the volcanoes, the earth starts to emit radiation. You see this natural radioactivity, this little squiggly line coming up. The earth emits radiation. It's invisible. It's not like light off the sun, but the earth emits radiation. And the more pressure built up down below, the more intense the radiation it emits. The earth is now emitting gamma rays, not just regular radiation, small little micro doses of radiation. No, the pressure is so built up down there, so much kinetic energy built up, that the planet is emitting gamma rays. Then you have gamma rays being emitted from the ground. Where's the spot, right? Let's go. Being emitted from the ground. Is this showing the stripe going down? This whole structure is connected to this one spot right here, coming up out of the ground. All right, radiation coming up out of the ground, magnetic radiation, electromagnetic radiation coming out of the ground. Like this. Okay. Then there's squiggly little lines, right? Come back here. Where are you? You guys holding on with this? Sorry, I'm trying to teach you a little thing real quick. So what we're seeing with that green ribbons coming out of the sky, or out of the ground and going up into the sky, is what I believe are gamma rays, radiation emitting out. Then we have the field being electrified, right, by more radiation coming in, right? So you got gamma rays coming out, getting bombarded by more radiation. They start to glow. And I believe those ribbons, this ribbon effect that we saw over, this was over Pakistan, okay? You guys can talk all day that this is some kind of CGI, it's a commercial, it's an ad for whatever. Dude, you better get wise to what's going on. Most people are looking at this going, what the heck? That's why they think it's fake, because they don't understand what's going on. Oh, please, with an ad. And you see it reaching way back into the city there. Let me kind of dim this, because our and then let me capture. Okay, that's good. So we got, no, please. I want just the corner. I'm trying to bring this up. So you get this radiation, this gamma rays that are emitting from the earth. Then they go up, they hit into, they go up into our magnetic field that's radiating around the earth. They tangle around, they swirl around. This structure is much like tangled magnetic field lines. Okay, magnetic field lines that crisscross and get tangled. We see this similar type structure in the tails of these interaction, the object pulling away from the sun. we see similar magnetic ribbon type effect. Okay, and I believe this is, see, it's emanating from this spot right here. It's coming up out of the ground, going way up there, and then reaching back down. And those other ribbons that you see going across the town in the background are reaching down from this. And reaching down, way out, way up into the sky. They get crisscrossed, they tie into knots, and then the knots, intertangled magnetic field lines clump together, and then they start to search for a different polarity to hook up with. All right, and I think that's what we're starting to see right here. And don't be surprised, we see more of this activity like this when we get these huge geomagnetic storms and we absorb a bunch of energy from the sun. All right. So when we were reading this article last night, and we're talking about this radiation coming up out of the planet, it reminded me of that video that we had just seen not too long ago come out of Pakistan. Okay, indication that there's issues down below. Yes, Earth has a global electric circuit. I don't believe it's created by thunderstorms. It's the gyros are magnetic, our core spinning inside of a magnetic shell, the dynamo inside the Earth. And a lot of people theorize, is the core spinning or not? How blatantly obvious is it that the core is spinning? Let me explain how blatantly obvious it is that the core is spinning. Our planet is spinning. It's impossible for our planet to be spinning with a core that's standing still. Okay, let me just tell you that much. It's impossible for our planet to be spinning with a core that's standing still. So our core is spinning. It's not really tough. These guys just don't know the process of elimination, or how to deduct things properly. They see an effect and they go, "Oh, that's what causes it." Well, yeah, we have this effect, this causes lightning, and they do interact with the ionosphere, but it's not thunderclouds acting as batteries that keeps the magnetic field afloat. No. The global electric circuit is created by the dynamo of the core spinning inside a shell. It's impossible for our planet to be spinning with a core standing still. Period. Anybody want to debate me on that one? Please bring it. Now, speaking of core and shell grinding, well, here we go again. We talked about this event last night. We came out of this big time weakness. Oh, not big time, but you see, we had a little weak spot, then it came back with grinding again. Kind of diminishes abruptly, little flashes of grinding, and then back to grinding again. So this tells me we're right at that boundary. The boundary is so close. Can I have a 3D? Help me real quick. Oh. That's a good. I want to see. You're slowing down. What just happened to Earth's core? Earth's core mysteriously unraveled. It's slowing down. Well, yeah. When the shell clamps down on the core. Oh, here's the good. Bingo. That's the one I want right there. Okay, this is my example, my display from my chalkboard. All right, here's your core. Here's your shell. Let me get this a little bit better. Okay, this ball sits inside of the shell. this is a cutaway. So the other half of this shell on the other side that covers the other side of the core is identical to this, right? If you took the core out of this structure, this would be a hollow structure, right? It's hollow if you took the core out of it, right? So this material, whatever material it is different than this material. This is more dense, and they get less dense as you go up and up and up, right? Because pressure is pushing down this way. So your denser materials are at the core, your next dense, your third dense. Okay, so it goes up this way. When this core, it's free spinning inside the shell with a gap in between the two. When this swells, it bumps up against the inside of this. Well, when this heats up, because it's got to heat up to swell, metal expands when heated. So when it gets heated up, it increases in temperature, it increases in diameter. When this increases in temperature, it wants to increase in diameter. It wants to expand open more this way, right? It wants to open up and be a bigger bowl. But it can't, because this is right there holding it down like that. And the one above it's holding that, which is holding this, and all of the crust is holding that, which is holding this, which is holding that. All right? It's under such pressure, it can't expand outward. So all it can do is expand when it's a metal too. So when it heats up, all it can do is expand inward, back down onto the core. So you got the core expanding outward like this, with this clamping down on it. Understand that? Do you see that, how that effect happens? This boundary, let's put this back together now. Right here, this boundary is picking up too bright. Right between the two, that gap. When that gap tightens up, that gap gets smaller and smaller and closer until they finally touch. That is, whoops, this one. That's when they touch. They start grinding, okay? And that shows when they're grinding, the pressure has built up. A lot of temperature, a lot of heat went in there, and now it's grinding. It's creating our 7.83 is still going, but it's going super strong. White denotes intensity. Okay, so not only is the 7.83 very intense, but so are the frequencies below it and at this level. Now, you see this little line right here where we're seeing activity. This is a frequency. You go over here and it's what, 13, probably 13.2, whatever it is. It's around 13. This next line going across. The core spinning inside the Earth generates this first green line. Now we have other activity creating magnetic fields at different frequencies going down. Right about here, this frequency, everything lower than it going this way is lower frequencies going up. This is 30, 29, 20, 0. So everything from this point up is lower in frequency, which means it's thicker material. When these frequencies hit the crust slows down the waves, and they become low frequency waves. So you get your low frequency waves, and then this line right about here is where I think our boundary, our crustal boundary, where the crust and the magma reach. So if you get magma that's running underneath the crust, it's going to generate a magnetic field. Remember, magma on the move creates a magnetic field. Go look it up if you don't believe me. Magma on the move creates a magnetic field. If magma is running on the underside of the crust, it's going to create a harmonic. And I believe that's what this line right here is indicating. This second line down is indicating our magma rubbing up against the underside of the crust. Just like the core rubbing on the underside of the shell, the magma rubs on the underside of the crust. We're grinding, the magma's grinding the underside of the crust right here as well. Indication of pressure. Extreme pressure. When you see this line and extreme pressure, see how it crosses this line right here? Goes all the way down. That's extreme pressure. But right here, this is telling me that we got, I believe what this is reading is telling us that we're seeing magma at the boundary with the Earth's bottom side of the crust. And it's running, flowing along in circular patterns around the Earth. Like rivers, it rubs up against the underside of the crust as well. Okay. And I think that's what we're seeing right here. I may be wrong. If I am, I am, But I understand a lot how this works. I know how our 7.83 is generated by the dynamo inside the planet. If there is not a dynamo inside the planet spinning, creating a magnetic field around our planet, what is causing the 7.83 hum? If the whole Earth resonates, what's causing that hum? Could it possibly be the dynamo inside the core? I mean, everything tells us that the core is there, that it rotates, it creates a magnetic field. That's what protects us from the sun, is the core spinning inside the shell. It projects out past the crust out into space, and those particles, those radioactive particles, want to hit the planet, but they hit a magnetic field. They get caught up in the magnetic field lines and get diverted around the planet. Oh, God, I wish they'd have just taught this simple stuff in high school. We would have a society of geniuses if they hadn't just deceived the shit out of you guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's just... Anyways, we're learning here. We're cleaning out all that bad way. This creates issues for people that have pain. Okay, these are painful days. Some people get energized from them. Let me tell you, whatever effect it has on you, it's having some kind of effect. If all animals are affected by the 7.83 are Schumann, right? 7.83 hertz. They put astronauts into space and forgot to supply the resonance. The astronauts lost their minds and attacked each other in blind rage and just killed each other in the capsule. They lost their minds. They went insane and just went savage without the 7.83. Same with animals. This resonance is needed to keep you sane. When we have a nice smooth green line, you guys are nice and level-headed. But when you have intense and then weak, kind of intense, weak, very intense, weak, this roller coaster of pain and emotions, they come and they go, they ebb and they flow, they go up and down and up and down. At times when you're not ready. Right? Everything's going fine. What the hell's going on? Why am I feeling negative now? Nothing happened. Why am I just all of a sudden feeling weird? Well, there you go. You're looking at it. Now, these ebb and flows, this intense Schumann and then very weak Schumann. So you have these ebbs and flows. The weak Schumann is where you're about to lose your mind. Okay, like the astronauts in the capsule without it. The strong Schumann, well, is a little too much, makes your ears ring, make your body ache, make your dizziness, just all kinds of... Oh, I can't even list everything that this does to you. But let's just stick with the basics for right now. There's your Schumann. We are going into a grinding session again. Let me get some fresh data. I would love to see it stop, or not the site. I would love to see this dissipating, but it's not. It's just kind of carrying on. It's not intense, but it's very sporadic. You see what I'm saying? But it's getting intense again at the 7.83 hertz level that affects you. Okay, so now you're getting another blast to 7.83 intense. Okay, so this roller coaster of emotions and pain, at times you're not expecting it, can throw you off during the course of your day. All right, that's why we're doing the spiritual report as well, because your day can be going just fine and you are doing fine spiritually. You're using the tools, everything's going smooth, and the dumbest little thing will set you off and you're like, "What? I was doing so well. Why did that dumb little thing set me off?" Well, it was because you were so vulnerable at that time right there. Oh, it could have been any little minor thing. Somebody said hello wrong, right? At that point when it was weak or somewhere where it was barely there. Yeah, of course you're triggered easily. Triggered easily. Triggered, not triggered. Well, what? Triggered. Recovery, and then intense again. Oh, fades. Intense blast. More zzz, triggered again. Oh, intense. So this roller coaster ride is out of your control. That's why it's important that we practice recovering our day and salvaging our day. Because if you don't, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. So here we go. There's your Schumann, which is an indicator pressure's built up again, and we are grinding again. All right, now we can move on. Did y'all grasp that? I think most of your IQs here, we've completed them now. So anything I explained to you is pretty graspful now. You can grasp these concepts a lot easier now that I've explained some of the stuff to you, right? They make sense now. Okay, here we are. Now, back in the wintertime, we do our polar vortex report, right? And right now, there's no polar vortex. It's all stretched out, spread from the very top all the way down to the equator. Where in summertime, no polar vortex. It's all way down here, right? Okay, let's flip it over. There we go. There's Antarctica. They're in wintertime. There's their polar vortex. Okay, so we're at that level. We're up at that altitude, all right, up by the ionosphere here. Here's your transition zone that is just very wonky. It's between the polar vortex zone and your upper jet stream. Okay, that transitional zone is like a neutral zone, kind of, until weather starts to get serious. Your upper jet stream is starting to look like a polar vortex. Very intense. This is a dramatic hook in it. It's just got a huge lift, and it goes right up across Hudson Bay and dumping right back down into the Atlantic. So way up high, we're seeing very strong, violent air currents funneling stuff from across the United States and taking it right up here. Something has changed this direction right here. There's something right here that's taken all this flow. It's like putting a rock in the river, right? Everything was flowing smooth until you stuck a stick in the water right there. Now everything's diverting around it, right? If you look closely, look at the flow patterns. You can see spherical shape with stuff flowing over it. There's one of our spheroids up at this altitude sitting right here, causing a peel away, diverting air one way, diverting air another way. And when you divert stuff, All right, now you've sent it in another direction, but you sent it into already a cocktail. So we got a cocktail made with more added to it. All right, so it's a double shot. It's a cocktail with a double shot in it. All right, and see how the two, this shot and this shot, blend together, and now you got some really serious air currents going, at your higher altitudes, your upper jet stream going way up in there. That's going to cause some, wonky weather patterns. Let me pull back, and our jet stream is dipping, going, dipping, going. Are you kidding me? Look at this right here. Do you see any kind of, what's diverting the flow? How come everything's coming so intense and doesn't continue intense? It's going around something round right here, isn't it? And that object is taking the cocktail and tearing it apart, isn't it? I told you these things can concentrate things or they can diminish things. So a well-placed sphere, say put in negative mode, will take all this energy and spread it out, divert it, and calm it down, right? You can see that there's a spherical shape right here. We'll just say a spherical shape that has taken an intense cocktail and just turned it into what? Ice water? What happened there? Please explain why all this is green. Why just all of a sudden, no problem, then right back to it again. You can see it. I have shown you the spheroid activity before. They not only work down at the surface, they're at work in the upper jet stream, aren't they? Yeah. All right, so that's your upper. Now, we're just going to start going through this. I want you to see correlation with your upper and now your lower jet. Let me get just a tad bit more brightness. Down. Okay, this is your lower jet stream where your storms are starting to, ride these air currents and follow these patterns. These patterns will direct storms in a certain direction, and then other currents down below will take that and do what they will with it. All right. So the storms at the surface level get influenced, but don't necessarily follow the pattern. They get a byproduct from this pattern. All right. So that flow pattern causes a byproduct down at the lower levels like this. Like this. Okay. It doesn't look like it matches up, but you got to remember these are residual, these are side effects, so they don't always match up perfectly. Again, with this flow pattern, we're used to seeing storms coming off the Pacific, hit the California coast, move across country. Everything is hitting the shore, moving south. So this region has been clear for a while because this flow, this high pressure rotation out here has taken all this energy that comes at the coast and usually moves across and just diverts it right at the coastline and sends it south. Meanwhile, we have this disturbing behavior over here. Let me pull back right there. That's good. I'm going to let that sit still instead of jumping around. I'll let you look at this flow. We have rotation here in the perfect shape of the Gulf. All right. We could see a hot pocket grow right there and a constant rotation storm just park right there. Imagine that. But meantime, it's taking this hot water, this moist, warm air from the Caribbean, throwing it right into the Gulf now. With this rotation, it just sucks it right through this channel and into the Gulf. It hits the Gulf's heating up. That's going to be the hottest water around because it's closed off, right? It doesn't circulate as well as the rest of the open ocean does. So the Gulf gets hotter. If we get a permanent structure right there with a bunch of hottest water on the planet, what the hell do you think is going to happen to Texas? I'm sorry. Lord. All right. Meanwhile, this is your pattern. We have this nasty QLCS going up through here, okay? This storm that we looked at last night did produce quite some nasty weather today. All right, so there's your setup structure. We also had, this thing striking Mexico too. Can we get just about right here? No. Anyways, right here, I believe this cyclone's starting to lash Mexico with moisture, and they're getting flooded right there. So we got that. We got out here in the Pacific, this structure just sitting there. Meantime, little storms coming off there, but I don't really see much making it to the West Coast. As soon as it hits this area, it just turns and goes right back away. So might be kind of a dry session here for a while there, or at least for the West Coast. I'm just kind of looking around to see if there's any other nasty systems. What's this? You guys got two vortexes here off of Australia, between New Zealand and Australia. I'd watch that storm and this one as well. Okay, that's good. Let's go on over now to our particulates. I'm just going to go right to the micron because it just shows up better. Okay, so massive sandstorm coming off of the North Africa, still blowing sand out into the Atlantic. It goes all the way across, gets caught up in these winds, takes it through the Caribbean. Look at these two prongs pointing right towards the Gulf. And we have this vortex spinning. Remember, we have this vortex spinning. So this draws stuff into it, okay, around. So this activity causes this activity, right? Pulling more of the sand into the Gulf. This vortex right here is just going to keep directing stuff right at this shoreline. And what's happening right now, let me pull this down. I want you guys, it's already, the sandstorm itself is is pointing what region to watch out for, because if this vortex just continues to sit there, what does it do? It funnels stuff to what region? Well, the sand is pointing at what region is going to suffer. So it's almost like a little red alert kind of going on here. You see it coming off of all the way across. Still pretty intense in red right here, making it all the way up into the States here. Here's Saudi Arabia still having issues. Everything, up in India, all the way up to to the ridges of the Himalayas there, having sandstorms. Here's the one on the Gobi Desert. That defines it a little bit better. Let's go right to the sand now. Particulates. Yeah, there we go. All right, pretty much matches the same. It's just a little harder on the eyes or harder on the camera here. But you can see that plume just coming right off the Africa coast. See this big old C-shaped plume that's just, boom, coming at us. Let's put the wind back on there, please, Lord. I want the wind at, oh, wait, we can't control. This is 850. Yes, it is. Okay, good. So your wind patterns are taking this. What direction? Continue to follow these arrows. This big old plume is going to go which way? I don't know. You guys ever played Follow the Leader? You ever done like stuff in kindergarten where follow the arrows now, everybody, follow the flow. Which way does it go? There you go. And we got vortex rotation really kind of drawing it in too. Okay, so there's your sandstorm. Look at this. Look how intense it's blowing up into Italy, all the way across the Mediterranean. That's in white, okay? White denoting the intensity. Here, let's give so there's the intensity bar, white being the most intense. So it's come off the north coast of Africa. It's crossing the Mediterranean and hitting Italy and starting to merge and get up into Europe now. Okay, this is a huge sandstorm that's been going on since November of last year, all through the winter. Okay, we have, sand is made out of silica. Silica holds an electric charge. When we get charged electrically, geoelectric, electromagnetic, it makes this silica, sand, these particulates statically charged, which makes them lighter than air or much lighter than they are naturally. Then, with our uptick in worldwide wind speeds that will just continue, okay, we're going to see straight line winds, upwards of 200 miles an hour. Listen to Mike from around the world, Mike from COT. He's trying to tell you guys and prepare you and warn you too. Okay. So imagine a sandstorm 200 miles an hour too, with a bunch. How much more sand that's going to kick up? All right. Now I want to step away from the sandstorm. Ow. Excuse me, folks. Where are we going, Lord? Chemicals? All right, good. You have to bear with it. It's so embarrassing. I have these twinges of pain at the oddest moments, and like in the store, and I'll not scream, but grunt or something. Somebody turns, "What's wrong with you?" Just excruciating stabs of pain. No biggie. All right, moving on. It's just kind of embarrassing, is all. All right, so here we are. Our country divided. Look at this. It's not matching up this time. A lot of stuff didn't match up today. Today was a good day for me, actually. So as you can see, our country divided here. One side bleeding out, the other side very hit and miss. We got volcanic, perforations in the crust. All kinds of perforations and crust on this side. There's your country divided. We could unite, you know that, right? It's not that hard at all. You want me to tell you how? Meantime, we'll get that in the spiritual report. Meantime, we have these patches right here, here. This is where flooding's happening, plugging up the holes in the region. Okay, there's the perforations, or you can't see them. It's like a little ant hole in the sand, right? It reaches way down through the dirt, all the way down, zigzags left, right, up, down, until it connects down to another channel down lower. So the gas does this zigzag dance up through the sand, up through the dirt, up to the surface, and then emanates from the surface. Well, when there's a big old pool of water sitting over it, it can't make it through. The water plugs up those holes for a while, and you can see no emissions from these sites, most likely due to flooding in that region. Usually when you plug up a couple of holes, say the holes next to it will compensate for the pressure. So you'll see the holes around it darken up, which we do. See this area in between the two places? That one darkened up. These ones around the edge here, darkening up. So you do see the darkening or the increase of pressure when other spots are plugged up. Meanwhile, you look up here by this region, it's getting dark up in this area. Okay, we're getting a lot of SO2 coming out of the ground there because pressure's on the rise. Okay, I showed you the Schumann. We have, we're getting up to our maximum pressure, right? So we have all sorts of new perforations that have formed lately that have been new holes in the balloon relieving pressure, new relief valves, right? And then the earth finds a happy balance. It takes so much in and it pushes so much out. We're seeing an increase in pressure, so it pushes more out. Some of these spots are starting to fill in now and get darker. Okay, and then yeah, they might not even do that this year. Well, here we got fires up in Alaska right now, and by Jove, they're right at the sites where these SO2 emission sites are. The gas coming out of the ground is hot. Have you guys ever seen methane coming up out of a swamp pond or some kind of pond and it's on fire? The people didn't light the methane emissions on fire. It came out already on fire because it's so hot. All right. Well, those methane emissions that are already spontaneously combusted from the heat, this gas also will help stuff spontaneously combust. These are fires over in Russia, okay? And what you're seeing is not smoke from the fires. This is SO2 coming out of the ground, sparking the fires from underground, okay? Dutch touched on this a little bit. I think he kind of figured it out. He saw a correlation and was like, wait a second. We're seeing fires at some of these spots. And I'm like, ta-da, you're finally getting it. So now we got, this is over in Russia, but you can see our fires correlating with this gas coming out of the ground, all right? So, say pressure increases, gas emissions come out, sparking fires, right? Later on this year or at another pressure event, right? Well, where's the place that you want to avoid these emissions? You want to get away from SO2 emissions because they could spark fires, right? So watch out for places that have SO2 emissions like that place right there. Take the fires off now. Okay, a lot of SO2 coming out of these regions. We'll get there, Lord. We'll get there. Just remind me when we get there. Okay, here we are, relief valve over at Taiwan. And we did see a little quake out of Taiwan the other day. All right, wasn't much, but we did see that it's not locked up. We can still see movement out of it. Right now, we're seeing an increase in SO2 emissions out of Taiwan. Pressure is on the rise. You can tell. Okay. We can tell here too. Now, not yet. Okay. Remember, SO2 sparks fires. Can spark fires. Not every time, but it does. It can come out so hot that it sparks fires. Purple Island of Java, definitely dark down at this end, okay? The whole island purple. You can see even Sumatra here that had kind of filled in a little bit is actually darkening now. The filled in area is actually starting to match up with Java here. If we didn't have these white lines, let's see, we pull back. That's all one purple stripe. If I just kind of move it around without the white lines, you see this whole band right here is darkening up. This region is our relief valve. And look at the dark spots up at this peninsula too. So underneath all of this area, there's pressure pushing out gas. That's our little relief valve right here by Java. So take a look at Australia. It used to be kind of free of this issue, but now it's spreading all over the earth. No matter where you are, there's perforations in the crust, and SO2 will eventually make its way through it. If it, goes all the way down, the pressure's enough to push it through stuff. South Africa, most of North Africa doesn't have this issue, but you're talking about a lot of sand and desert. So Down here in the jungles, you see we got a little SO2 emissions there. All right, coming back over here. Let's give us back our time zone now. So fulcrum point here, kind of, well, darkening up all four of them, nice and healthy there. The fifth one is there, pretty dominant there. Okay, so this weak spot in the crust where the fulcrum point is on the plate boundary is releasing a lot of SO2 because it's a fulcrum point. It's a weak spot, path of least resistance. So you see a lot of SO2 coming out of there. See these ones up through here are starting to darken up as well. Even up in here. Indication pressure is building up. All right. This whole line right here, all dark purple. So a lot of SO2 coming out of this region right here because of all the pressure that's built up. We have a plate boundary right there that hasn't snapped because of this pressure. We have not seen a big quake on this plate boundary here that produces the biggest quakes in recorded history. Came out of this region right here. So the boundary that produces the biggest quakes is actually doing its job as far as venting pressure for this whole region. Yeah, why not? Okay, other chemical I want to go to is, really, Lord, we're going to do CO2 tonight? What happened here? Where's our data? I want our latest data. Okay. 618, 336. No. All right. Hang on. I'm trying to get us our freshest data. And that's going. All right. Right there. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I'm a stickler for at least the freshest data, even though it's not current. Okay. This is 618. It's a 1230 UTC. But here's our CO2. Okay. Let me pull up our chart real quick. Over here, brown denotes the color is less CO2, yellow being your moderate range, blue being, high output CO2, okay? CO2 surface concentration. See down here, carbon dioxide surface concentration. Okay, here we go. Now, once you take a peek at America, there's brown here, right? That means less CO2 emitted, or not a lot of CO2, all right? In fact, do you see any blue sites here at all? Oh, look at this. Tad bit right here off the coast of California, okay? CO2 is plant food. Plants, they have a stomate, a mouth on the bottom of the leaf, millions of mouths called stomates that open up and they ingest CO2. It's plant food. The photosynthesis process takes that, breaks down the carbon, the oxygen, and during that process, oxygen, an atom of oxygen is emitted. O2 is emitted. So we get oxygen from the plants, right? So CO2 emissions are plant food. It's not a pollutant. In fact, if you cut out all CO2, well, you'll kill all the plants. If you kill all the plants that produce the oxygen, I almost said it. Thank you, Lord, for helping me keep my tongue. Okay, you look down here in the rainforest, lots of jungle down there. Rainforest eats up CO2. So look here on the chart, that's not much CO2 in that area because the plants are all eating it. High oxygen concentrations in that area. All right, so we're looking around, and then we come over to this region. Who produces a lot of CO2? Where are the high CO2 emissions coming from? And since they want to try to tax us on CO2, I'm okay with that. Tax the people that are doing it. Tax the shit out of the people who are emitting the gas then. Because it ain't us. Right? Right? So why are you going to tax American taxpayers who have great emissions, and then let the criminals over here just skate free and write the rules? Yuck, yuck. Yeah, we'll write the rules while we just break them. Give me a break. Do not fall for this clown show that they're trying to perpetrate on you guys. Some of you went to school. Well, most of you went to school. Some of you paid attention. Most of you didn't. We're partying. I know. But CO2 is not a greenhouse gas. Well, not the way they put it, okay? It's plant food. It's a gas that we emit when we breathe, all right? We breathe, the plants breathe. They breathe to us, we breathe to them. So, but if you're going to go after people for CO2, go after the right people. And you want to tax them for emissions, go. Knock yourself out. Tax Korea, tax China, tax Japan. They're the ones that are emitting it, not us. So if they try to impose a CO2 tax on you, I want you to tell them exactly where to put it. Maybe smack them around with your diploma and say, hey, you should have paid attention in school or whatever. Because they're trying to hoodwink you and make you think, oh, you forgot everything in school. That wasn't all what you heard or blah, blah, blah. What? You know, they playing you like you're dumb. So there's your CO2 bandits right there. Oh, also note here at Java, these islands, Borneo, and all these islands out here have low CO2 because the plants are eating it all. So the earth has a way of digesting CO2 and producing oxygen. The moment you start cutting off CO2, you might as well just start choking yourself. Here, put your neck in my hand and choke yourself. You ever seen that in the movie? The sergeant says, put your neck in my hand and choke yourself. And the soldier's thinking, what? Well, go ahead. That's what they're doing. Don't fall for that crap. Anyways, moving on. Every once in a while, I have to correct them on that shit because it just pisses me off. And I'm very forgiving, but not for just blatant stupidity. You know, perpetrating a crime at your stupidity is not. I'm not going to let that slide. All right, so we're getting back particulates. Let's do another little chemical round here, right? We're in class at the moment. This is SO4, another sulfate compound, okay? It's sulfur with 4 oxygen atoms, okay? SO4, sulfur quad oxide, kind of a simpler term for it, okay? It emits from the ground. It also is man-made pollutant. But that's not what we're here for. We're not looking for sites where it's coming out of. We're just looking at the fact that it's out there, all right? And white denotes intensity, okay? This compound, SO4, likes to bond with water. These particulates I told you like to adhere, or water likes to adhere to a particulate. Well, this particulate, SO4, water adheres to this one, and they bond together. It's not just adhering to a particle and then splashing to the ground and letting go of the particle. This chemical bonds with the H2O itself and creates a compound called H2SO4, which is better known as sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. You are looking at the components for sulfuric acid all over the planet. Okay? So your it gets caught up in storms, right? And what are storms made out of? Moisture, water. So your storms are sulfuric acid storms. Did you know that? Well, now you do. Let's go to the don't let this rattle you. Do not let this shake you. I heard some people getting a little nervous there. We haven't gotten to the nervous part yet. And this shouldn't make you nervous either. If it does, stick around for the spiritual report and we'll heal that problem. Now, Lord, help me find our latest data. Oh, good. It's just that fresh now. We're at, give me one more. Okay, so that's our freshest data at 6:17:05 local UTC. So yesterday, we're still a day behind on our data. Okay, but that's okay. At least we're getting data. It takes a day for this model to compile all the different temperatures from all around the world and make this composite map. So here we are, our area right here off the West Coast. It's not the big yellow bar that it was, but this little patch is starting to pick up slightly. Right in here, turning yellow. This whole area was yellow, and it's still kind of continuing. Of course, we have our hot spot here off the coast of Japan, and what we've really seen a dramatic increase is heat in this area, in this bay between Japan and Korea, and well, even in this bay right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little time lapse on that bay right there. Okay. So we're coming over the Lord, help me. We're coming over to the calendar here. We're going to go back a month. All right. Here's June. Here's a month ago. And when I hit OK, watch the difference in temperature. Okay. There was even cold water pockets right there and right there and right there. Okay. I'm keeping it off to the side so we can pop the calendar. All right. Now, again, I'm going to put it back to where it was. We already see this hot spot here. That doesn't change much. I'm watching it, how quickly this pocket grows in the course of a month. Look out, Japan. Godzilla's coming for you. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see what was on Google Earth? Did you see what was captured off the coast of Taiwan on Google Earth? From what we're capturing at the oil rigs and also, just other eyewitnesses, some other prehistoric creatures coming to the surface. I'm wondering if maybe they got the idea from the real creature. And we'll get there too in the spiritual report. Meantime, here we are at the coast, or at the fulcrum point of Taiwan here. We have hot water back in here. We had cold water inundation back here that's dissipated now and disappeared. We still have a tad right here, but look how the island's getting surrounded now by red. We had a yellow patch right here that is gone now. So something must have happened in this region to relieve pressure right there. Probably had a little quake or something to fulcrum point or right around that area. Still a little bit of yellow down at the southern end, but all in all, the pressure did relieve there. It was turning yellow, so we saw some kind of pressure release in that region. Coming on down here, here's Java, our valve, our relief valve. Actually, we got more cold water inundation coming over to these islands along here, so there must be a lot of pressure being released in there too, keeping the water from getting super hot at the ocean floor. These hot water anomalies, hot water rises, right? So if you have a volcanic vent on the floor of the ocean and it's rising, and then when it gets to the surface, it like spreads out like an anvil, almost like the anvil of a thunderhead would spin, spread out in a mushroom head type shape. Well, there's a mushroom head type shape at the surface from a plume, probably, an emission site down there. Here we are, coldest water in the world right now, supposed to be between the tip of Africa and Antarctica during the wintertime. We're seeing hot water. Let me put the currents in real quick. Play it. Okay. Hot water rising. Other water, cooler water comes in to replace it, causing vortex rotation, causing rotation in vortexes. Okay. There's our currents causing rotation. The water hot spots are causing little vortexes of rotation in the currents. So hot water wants to go in, cold water wants to replace it. So we get this oscillating from hot to cold, from hot to cold, from hot to cold. I'm just following the current, right? Cold to hot to cold to hot, from hot to cold, back to hot, back to cold. So it's either hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out. Definitely volcanic activity going on the surface or under the water, as well as above the water. Okay, the surface of the planet does exist underwater. It's the ocean floor. So we're seeing volcanic activity at the surface that's just underwater. Okay, although activity on the above water, well, of course, there's more land mass underwater than there is above. So we're going to see more activity, 2/3 more activity underwater than we would see on land. Okay, now let's address the monster in the room. The heat coming through this area now is starting to control the weather. So I'm going to put the wind on now. And we're going to see how well, it's still correlating with these spots. Okay, hot water rising in these regions is slowly creating one big rotation, a broad rotation. Have you guys been paying attention to the storm chasers and like Max Volume or Ryan Hall? And when we see these couplets form tornadoes, tight vortexes, the couplet can be broad, way out like this. The rotation's very wide. Or when it gets smaller and smaller, it tightens up and gets faster and faster, much like a skater pulls their arms in and spins faster. So the broader the rotation, the slower, but the more it clamps down and tightens up, it's going to spin faster and faster. What we're seeing is broad rotation here over the Atlantic that matches our heat anomaly. We're going to see thermally induced rotation causing storms, okay? This is the alley where a lot of our hurricanes come off the coast of Africa, go into the Caribbean, and then up into the Gulf, right? This is where our water is getting hotter. It's causing flow. This is water causing air to flow. This is not the currents. This is the air. So the hot water at the surface is causing hot air at the surface. Hot air wants to rise. What happens when hot air rises? Cold air comes in to replace it. The same effect that happens in the water happens in the air, and now we are seeing broad rotation induced by the thermal activity coming off the surface of the water. Oh, Lord. This is going to cause hurricane activity on a new level, unprecedented. Okay? This hurricane season is going to be very nasty. We also have the sand plumes that come off that help diffuse convection. But with this hot water, I don't think the sandstorm's going to be enough to diffuse convection during this heat and wind. The hotter this gets, the faster the vortex is going to go. So it's like a fire adding water or adding wind to a fire. The more wind, the hotter the fire. The hotter the fire, the more wind it generates. It's going to be a runaway train. What I could see possibly happening. All right, now we're going into conjecture. All right, but I want you to listen closely. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to show you what could possibly happen. We're getting this conveyor belt effect. All right, the conveyor belt effect that we saw just weeks ago was going up the coast. Right? Because the hot water was right here. It was grabbing on to this part of the rotation, right? So our broad rotation was in the Atlantic. Yeah, that oh shit moment. Sorry, it comes flying out sometimes. We have that vortex that's rotating here, drawing stuff up into this region. Oh shit moment, yeah. This rotation just broadened from going up the coast to now being drawn into the hot waters of the Gulf. The Gulf has now grabbed a hold of this broad rotation, bringing it up into the United States. Instead of sending it up the coast, it's going inland now, more inland. The conveyor belt of hurricanes. Help me, Lord. Lord, please give them strength. Give my audience strength and courage to handle what I'm about to tell them. I think a lot of them are starting to figure out before I say this, but it's important to give my audience strength because this is not supposed to be scary and discouraging. Our conveyor belt. If we see a hurricane come off, intensify, another one come off, they will kind of be evenly spaced so they can breathe, right? They want a vortex in order to thrive, so they would separate. They would actually gap themselves, I think. We could see a series of hurricanes that are in constant activity riding this conveyor belt. Okay, we could see, imagine 8 to 10, very strong hurricanes just riding this loop over and over. They get strong, they get stronger, hit the country, weaken, come out into here. What happens when all that weakened storm hits this hot water? It's going to turn right back into a hurricane. Now we got this little bubble here, so this might actually hot water or hot air mixing with the cold air. You could become a tornado alley up in here. Severe weather where you have hot air mixing with cold air just because of this hump right here. This hump seems to be caused because heat right here generating this vortex. Okay, so it's pulling stuff up this way. We also have a cooler spot right here and colder water over here, which is pulling cold water into this region, inducing that loop. You're going to see storms come off of here, gain strength, go up here, turn into a snowstorm, come down here, gain, warm up again, and then slam into Spain. Part of it will continue to peel off and come right back down into the hot waters off the Gulf of Africa that'll just be pumping out. I mean, you could have a hurricane come slam into another hurricane that's forming. Say they're not evenly spaced, and out here you got one pulling away from Africa, heading towards us, and another one coming in. They could go bam and then turn into something gnarly. Okay. Then the ultimate effect would be this whole rotation turning into one giant hurricane with the outside wall straight line wind speeds of over 200 miles an hour. That's where the over 200-mile-an-hour straight line wind speed would come from, is one big hurricane sitting out here and the outside fringe of it just going okay. That would be devastating, and we're starting to see the makings of that possibility. We're June 16th. We're not even at the longest day of the year yet, and we're already in this pattern. So, hi, Angel Wings. Yeah, I'm still alive. Yeah, they beat the shit out of me. I'm tough. I don't go down. I'm also still live, too. All right. So, quite the mix we got going on here. What disturbs me now is that vortex that was spinning over here has now pulled the conveyor belt into here. So it was kind of better if it stayed here, because now it's just going to wipe out everything. We'll see. Let's everybody pray for a change in this flow. We could see this low kind of move on through and push this out, and would take some of this flow and redirect it and keep it out over the ocean. Okay. Even though it would be devastating if it were to rotate conveyor belt style like this, but even more devastating if it did conveyor belt style like that. Okay. Sorry to have to do that, but all subject to change. We did see a decrease over here when we had a new perforation in the crust. Maybe it's time to start drill, baby, drill over here. North Atlantic, start pumping for oil and put your man-made perforations in the crust that we know work, right? We know that we can do man-made perforations in the crust, right? That work, right? We know because we see our own stuff happening in this region, right? Maybe it's time to consider drilling a relief valve, way out in the open somewhere that won't affect a bunch of people, that would keep activity down. Because the moment this gets past a certain point, it's going to be too late. It'll be just too hot, and any kind of perforation, it'll be too late. The process is already in motion. But right now, you could technically probably find a spot, way up here in the North Atlantic, or way out here where the central part of the heat is, drill a hole for like an oil rig drill and release a bunch of pressure. You might have lava shoot up out of the drill bit, but we're going to have to start getting creative of what we're going to have to do here. Because nothing's going to get done. No one's going to notice, and it'll be too late, and they'll be like, breaking news. Category 10 hurricane is about to wipe the Atlantic clean. They'll wait till the last minute to tell you stuff like that, Meanwhile, I am going to be continuing to watch this and report on it, because this right here seems to be our latest main concern, priority. Okay, I have to make a lot of lists. Okay, I have to rearrange priorities a lot. Even throughout the course of a day, all of a sudden, hey, I got to drop what I'm doing. Somebody's dying. I got to go. It's a priority. My priority just changed. So priorities change, and our main priority, I think right now, I see this little relief going on kind of relieved this for a minute. This was our priority at first. We did see a reduction in pressure. It is possible. So we could see a reduction in pressure. It is possible. But for right now, this has become our new priority, everybody. Okay. And the ramifications of a conveyor belt system going here would be very devastating. Okay. I don't like the idea that it got drawn into the Gulf. It would have been a lot better if it had stayed maybe out here off the coast. Maybe we'll see. I got an idea. Drill a hole here in the Gulf and relieve some of the heat in that zone. If anybody's listening. Okay. Do I want it right there? Okay, I want it right there. Now let's come over to the earthquake report now. Everybody get a sip, go to the bathroom, do what you need to do here while we set up for earthquake report. I miss Dutch. Where's my buddy at? Even though he kind of changed the style of reporting, I still respect the man, and I still enjoy learning stuff from him. Now, maybe we don't agree on everything, but boy, it's okay to listen to smart people. Take what you can get out of them, right? Or not, learn what you can learn from them. That's what I'm talking about. Not take what you can get from them. Deep quake region, Fiji. Okay, no deep quake right in this region. We do have activity entering our system, though. Before we get into this system, let's do this side, because the other day we had very quiet on this side. There's a quake missing right there. Wait, right there. And I believe it's this one. That's 612. Nope, it was this one. 617. Right there, the date, 617. So it was this quake. It just dropped off because it was just over 24 hours. So we had a 5.5 at the surface right here. Okay. So 5.5 at the surface, relieving energy on our plate boundary. Whoops, not that one. Right there, 5.5. We had a 5.2 at a depth of 70 here. And right in the catcher's mitt, got a 4.4 down at a depth of 19. So we did not see a good pressure release through this area since the deep quake activity. Well, finally made it. We had the mid-range 5, another 5, and a mid-range 4. So that part of the system did its job, relieved the pressure. Real quick, I want to go back to SO2. Oh, take the wind off, please. There we go. All right, here we go. I'm trying to get to this island right here. Because our plate boundary's coming up right through here, right? We have this little island with SO2 emissions. We also have this is Fiji, is emitting SO2 as well. Okay, that's almost the hub of its own little wheel. Okay, just like Hawaii is. It has a round effect right here. So that's why deep quakes come out of this region. So plate boundary runs up through here. Here's our first little dump off of pressure right here at this island. Across on the other plate, we have our 5.0 down at 99. This is not at the surface relieving pressure. This is a 5.0. Don't fall asleep on me. Where are you going? Hey, you guys wake up. Grab an energy drink. No, I'm joking. All right. It looks to be like on the flank of this volcano right here. This is a volcanic island. Came up through the surface way down here on the ridge. Well, We lost it there. This slopes down towards the ocean floor. On the flanks of this island is your 5.0 down at 99. Pressure down there building, pushing magma up underneath this volcano right here. The volcano right there at the beginning of our system. We have our weak spot right here where we had a big quake and a flurry. So energy came in here and did not strike at the weak spot. It made it past this little vent and struck right across from it. So we got two spots here that relieve energy before our weak spot. Fulcrum point, nothing. Very quiet through here. Volcanic activity. We come over to our little pit area over here. 4.2 down at 79. Inside the V of this two plates. Almost a fulcrum point. Inside the fulcrum point type structure. Note Java, no quakes because of all the SO2 and volcanic activity in the region. Okay. Nothing through this area. Finally, in the lake region of China, we have our mid-range 4 at the surface, venting energy there, scrubbing energy. 4.8 at the 67 here. That's in this type dense structure mountainous region. That's kind of your surface quake at the fulcrum right there. Whoops. Spill your drink in the meantime. Okay, fulcrum point quake. Not at the surface, but that's your fulcrum point quake, relieving energy close to the surface right there. Meantime, we have here in Iran a 4.0 at depth, or at the surface there, and a 4.9 at the surface here in Iran. What do we do with 0.9s, especially 4.9s? We have a 5, and we have a mid-range 4. Give me this one back. A 4 and a 5, sorry. Finally, energy in this region being relieved. It's not along a plate boundary, but it's being relieved out here in the desert. Okay, nothing in this region right now. We have Etna come into life and relieving pressure and stuff in that region. Okay, now let's coming up this side. So here we are by Taiwan. Remember we saw a drop in pressure in that region? There wasn't a fulcrum point quake, but I told you there's probably a quake in the region. Well, right there. I mean, we had that yellow patch that was right here, and it's gone because the quake struck right there. 44, 4.7. There's your energy being released. At this little volcanic island here, we got on the flanks of this island 4.7, 44. Would really like to see that structure just a tad bit. It's on that ridge, huh? Okay, this ridge parallels the plate boundary. The ridge, mountainous ridge, was formed because of the plate boundary. Here at the apex, almost like this bend, you can see a little fulcrum point right here type structure, pointing right towards our little volcanic island. Weak spot right there is we're going to have to watch. We have a fulcrum point weak spot here, and if it didn't set a quake here, and it did here, this could potentially be a new weak spot just off our fulcrum point. So there's your, relieved pressure in that region. Okay, before we get into America and go all magnitude, out here in the Brazilian rainforest, this is a diverse quake. We don't see activity out here. Well, we do now because we have a diverse quake. Diverse just means it's not in your typical, usual spot. Okay, it's out of the ordinary. There's no plate boundary here. There's no, fulcrum point. It's got to be some kind of volcanic feature or some kind of weak spot. A new path of least resistance among all these little rolling hills and fields out here. And this is at a depth of 11, so this is close to the surface. This is energy being relieved at the surface here. And I don't see like any type volcanic structure, any kind of old fault system or anything in that region. That is all just farmland, rolling hills, and jungle type area. Very diverse quake. No, kind of no reason for that quake. That's what a diverse quake is. It's like, what the hell's that one doing there? You know? All right. Meantime, 4.6 down 226. Other side of the fulcrum point, 4.7 at 115. Running along your plate boundary, just in the soft zone here. Weak zone, 4.7 down at 52. Inside fulcrum point, quake, 4.6 at 145. Weak zone, 4.1 down at 65. Ooh, Jamaica me crazy here. 4.0 at the surface. Um, see, Jamaica, it's got a lot of SO2 emissions. It's got one good spot right there on the island of SO2 emissions right there, volcanic feature that's here on this island. And now we're having earthquake finally. So we haven't seen that site here has been a strong site for a long time. This has been emitting a dark patch this whole time. All right. We rarely report on it because it's just, so diverse or whatever. But Jamaica has always had a dark spot there. So it's a vent for pressure as well. All right. Because we're getting a lot of SO2 coming out of it, like Java, right? So, in a way, it's its own small little relief valve. And now, at the relief valve, we're seeing magnitude 4 quake at the surface. This is becoming an area, a path of least resistance at the surface. It's not big, it's a 4.0, but that shows me we got SO2 and we got earthquake in that region. We're going to see activity in this region. Remember we saw the increase in magnitudes over here getting into threes? Here's more threes. There's a 3.8. And then 4 at Jamaica. So we were, I would expect to see maybe the 4 or 3.5 increase here. But increase in magnitude, new spot to watch. That's it for the rest. Now let's go all magnitude and jump into America. If you're watching Dutch, I love you, bud. Okay, microquaking all along the volcanic island chain, even up into your fulcrum point up here, maximum pressure 2.0. Actually, right here, this is where a lot of your energy is getting diverted inside fulcrum, but it's still fulcrum point quake. The pressure's just on this plate instead of the other. 2.5. What's this bigger one right here? That's the one I want. Ooh, a 3.2. So 2.5 plus 3.2 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 2.2. Add all those little magnitudes together. That's a fair amount of energy that just got relieved at the fulcrum point. As it comes down this way, it diminishes in magnitude. It did make it to the Juan de Fuca and triggered a boundary quake just off the boundary, but it's at 10. So there's your boundary surface energy being distributed at 2.6 magnitude. 2.6 came in. Let's see, nothing around Puget Sound except for explosions. Mount St. Helens having a little activity. No activity around Rainier. That's good. Off the flanks of St. Helens still, indicating pressure down below, rattling volcanoes, right? Just off of Mount Shasta here. North Valley, Boom. Wow. Central Valley activity. This is okay, you see the footprint of an old water or an old sea. Okay. Whether you I don't know. We're not going to theorize and play games anymore. It's blatantly obvious this used to be an old bay, okay? An old sea, okay? Water came in the Bay Area and went into the Central Valley all the way up to this point, filled all the way down in through there, okay? So this not sand, this material is very dense, much like the Gobi Desert. It's compacted because it's had water sitting on top of it for a long time that pushes down, puts pressure on it, and compacts the base or the floor of an old sea. Water retreats, evaporates away over time, leaving your Central Valley. It's very fertile because it's very compact. It has all kinds of nutrients and stuff in it. So, but in the middle, down the middle of the valley is very tight, very dense, right? And when you see activity off of, there's no fault structure really through here. Most fault structures run through mountains right there and foothills. So not a lot of fault structure out here. And to see activity pushing up underneath the bottom of this pad, for lack of a better term, it's like a big concrete pad almost. It's not concrete, but it's dense. It's very thick without seams in it. So this is showing me that pressure is pushing up underneath this area, underneath this pad, and it's getting to the surface. Well, not quite to the surface, but at a depth of 16 there. Are you shitting me? Okay. Pardon my French again. I'm feeling good today, so sometimes I feel good. 1.6, not much energy coming in there. What's going on here? 2.4 at a depth of 2. Energy really, really shallow, 2.6. Okay, pressure comes in. Geysers are doing their job, venting a lot of the energy as it comes in. Instead of the Hayward Fault area, we got just in the Central Valley. What is going on here, dude? Is this drilling? Just a second. I'm just kind of... okay. We got a fairly decent river here. A lot of water in this area. Water trickles down these tributaries, gets into canyons, loosens stuff up as it goes along. Sometimes water can be almost like a, not a fault system, but a weakness, a fault, as in faulty, not a straight line fracture, but a weakness in surrounding, area. That's too deep, though, for that activity. It's too deep for that activity. This might be a new possible point of weakness to watch here in the future, because we've seen stuff popping off along the Hayward Fault here. It a little further inland here, and I don't see any kind of like fault or volcanic structure. So this could be like a new little perforation. You know what I'm saying? A little weak spot. What's this? Just 2's good. Good. Oh boy, what's going on out here at my gold field? Who's robbing my gold? All right, this volcanic feature out here, they don't call it gold field for nothing, because it's all volcanic. See the volcano right here? It spews all kinds of molten metals from down below. molten metals like gold and silver and copper. So, Goldfield, Nevada. And this, look, we pull back a little bit. You see this volcanic structure. Come here, Arrow. You see this volcanic structure blatantly obvious. This one, blatantly obvious, right? Here's another mountain right here. You see the old lava flows from a long time ago flowing down through there. This is an old volcano, just like this is. Lava made it to the surface here, eons ago, and created a little lava field right there. So, a new spot, isn't it? See all these microquakes quaking out right here around this volcanic structure? We got a new perforation point, a new path of least resistance right here, don't we? Just off of Mono Lake here, out by Tom's place, they're still having little quake activity out in here. Kind of watching Mammoth Mountain closely because I've seen heat plumes coming out of the Sierras here, inducing thunderstorm activity on a day that there's not supposed to be thunderstorms, and it doesn't move. It's just a heat plume coming out of the mountains that when the cold air hits it causes convection right over the mountain and only over the mountain. Usually thunderstorms move and travel. This one just hangs out right over the mountain because it's being induced by thermal updrafts coming out of the mountain. A little micro activity over here in Utah. Activity up here by Yellowstone, of course. I would do a lot of Yellowstone reporting and stuff, but it has lost all credibility, really. So we just kind of go with what we got here. A good 3 here in Oklahoma. Okay. That shows your perforations in the crust. A good amount of pressure comes in. You can get an increase in magnitude out in these regions as well. Increase in magnitude at your own perforation point. So we could, put our own perforation point out here and maybe increase, with a valve, the pressure release, decrease the magnitude, increase the magnitude. Imagine that. Okay, here we are coming up our 2.0 here in Arkansas. Ugh. Ow. 1.6 there, and then up here, this is not our usual weak spot over here by New York City. This is a little further up here in Maine. They had a 2.6 up in New Hampshire here. Okay, so you got your New Madrid coming up through here and going along that boundary, just like Touch talks about. He's right, okay? And you can see it following it. Little indicator, there's still, it's possible for movement in this area. A little release of pressure right there, not too bad. We all know what's going on there, and we covered everything else. Let's this up here real quick. A little volcanic mountain right here. It's the base of it, seeing a little activity there. Just indicators that some of these, sites that, are old volcanoes, old ancient volcanoes, when we get pressure underneath, it'll rattle all the old volcanoes. It'll give them a little jolt, reminding you that it's a good indication. When you see that happening at all these little volcanic sites, it's an indication that our pressure has reached the surface and is, venting out through the weak spots. Whew. 2.5 hours. We're not even to the weather yet, Brian. All right. It just said 34 erupting, 26 in warning. The rest are in unrest. 34, 26. Hey, those are measurements. 34, 26, 29. All right, here we go. Volcanoes today for the 19th already. Here we go. Start hosing some of the stuff down too, you know. Recahena's lava cooling efforts have been initiated to prevent the lava from overflowing the protective wall. Okay. Sometimes we're learning new techniques, right? Building walls, cooling stuff, initiating to prevent. To prevent what? To prevent lava. We're going to have to take measures to prevent lava. Underwater, prevent lava. We're going to prevent lava however we can by venting stuff, making our own relief valves. Ibu, 14,000 feet. Semaru, 15,000 feet. Home reef Tonga, still erupting. Okay. Popocatépetl, Novier, Sangay, 21,000. That's a pretty high blast. A lot of pressure there. Reventador, Sabancaya, 24,000. That's an increase. It's usually 21. It's up to 24. Sangay is like 18. It's up to 21. Yeah. Now let's get into the 18th, what was today and now yesterday. Oh, now. There we go. More and more red on the map. Stromboli and Etna now in red. Why? Because Etna, the latest Sentinel-2 images of the volcano over the past 3 days revealed thermal radiation. We saw that yesterday. Oh, I thought that was Etna right there. I was going to go, no way. That's Tokuko. No, this is Ibu. Sorry. All right. Moving on. There is Ibu right there. That was a 14,400 foot blast we saw there. Luatobi, 10,000. Semaru, maxing 15. Dukono, 7,000. Popocatépetl, actually, that's a little lower. 18,000, but that's another blast right next to Mexico City. These people are probably on edge, just going, when is it going to take us out? Nevada del Ruiz, mild explosive activity continues. Sangay, 22,000. That's a pretty high blast. A lot of pressure. Reventador, 14. A lot of pressure. Sabancaya, 25. A lot of pressure. All right, so that was it for the 18th. Moving on. Let's get her done, son. And did I miss all the data? Yes, I did, because I was too late. How did we get so late tonight? Oh, my late ass. All right. Current conditions. Morning of June 19th, we had this gnarly quasi-linear convective storm front take shape and did move through there as predicted. Okay, a lot of flash flooding, a lot of large hail, high winds. Another thing we're going to have to start talking about too is lightning. Okay, tornadoes, of course. Your derecho type windbag events, but also lightning too. Increases in lightning strikes. We're going to start getting bigger lightning bolts, okay? Thunder bolts instead of just your cloud to ground CG, cloud to ground lightning. It's going to get wider and thicker and stronger. You might see a strike that lasts several seconds long, like maybe 10 to 15 seconds, where it just sits there and goes bzzz. If you saw a lightning strike like that, you would probably go, holy, right? So we're going to see longer duration, stronger lightning. When these storms get intense like that, you know, tornadoes, thunderstorms, lightning's part of that. So again, the one thing I neglect to mention is what ends up happening sometimes. So let's not forget lightning is a very dangerous aspect of this, and the more powerful it gets, it will pretty soon overtake the priority than tornadoes. Where's lightning going to be? Because that is going to be even a new kind of devastation. So everybody, know what to do with lightning. Get a lightning rod. How to diffuse lightning, what to do in a lightning storm, how lightning works. If you're standing in one spot and you don't move your feet, ions come up through your body and emit from your head out up into the air. Well, the moment you break contact with your feet and move your feet to a different, move your feet to a different area and reestablish contact with the ground, then a new leader has to start forming off of your head. So you want to constantly be breaking that leader and restarting a new one. Don't let it get too high up into the air, because the longer you stand in one spot, the taller that leader is going to reach up into the air. So one of your best ideas is to keep moving. Don't stand in one spot. Don't stand at the base of a tree, but keep moving. Okay, a lot of people say get on all fours and crouch down, put your butt in the air. But you have just created a leader off of your butt going up into the air when you make contact with your arms and your knees to the ground. So one of the practices is to keep that electrical circuit from making a connection, and you can do that by constantly breaking the connection by ungrounding and regrounding your feet. Okay, it's one of the ways. All right, let's get into this. There's not much here, so let's just get her done. I'm going to play the last few little frames right here. Okay, yeah, we're just going to talk about Texas right here, because this is ending up. This is finishing off. We still got some severe weather in the morning time of the 19th. It seems to kind of dissipate by noon. There's still chances, but dissipating by convection for this. We're done with that. Now let's back up, because as we speak, the morning time of the 19th, this severe storm is making landfall on Texas. You people on the coast of Texas, for the next coming hours into the noontime tomorrow, you're going to have severe, severe weather coming off the coast, making landfall. Okay, we're talking water spouts making landfall, turning into tornadoes. We're talking storm surge that could be a couple of feet high. We're talking just like a hurricane. Okay, it's a super strong storm, just like a hurricane. So the same things that would come with a hurricane. Intense straight line winds, flash flooding, lightning, tornadoes. Okay, the whole bag right there, coming on shore right now as we speak, intensifying, deepening inshore by noon, and then by the end of convection, that is deeply disturbing. Because I see what's happening here. I don't give a hoot about their color code. Oh, boy. There's a low right here. You see this low rotating down here? I should get all of that in the screen. What? That's not it. Okay, so again here, morning time. I want everything in there as tight as possible so they can see it. All right. Current going into the morning and the noon time here at the Gulf of Texas. Everybody in this region of Texas, wake up right now. Get up right now. Wake everybody up. Get them out of bed right now and get them packing and getting out of there. I wouldn't even try to hang this one through. I would just evacuate. A lot of people try to prepare for storms and ride them out and blah, 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 blah. What happens when it's more than you expect and you're on your roof and then being airlifted? Most of those people are going, I should have evacuated. Why didn't I just evacuate? It could have been easy to get out of there 2 days in advance, get a motel over here, motel there, wait until this moves through the area and then jump back in and, clean up devastation. But not advisable to be hanging out in that region. It just, when you don't have to. I mean, I understand some people can't, and you have to hunker down. But if you did have the opportunity to get out of there, it would be advisable. That's convection. That's when the sun has brought the thunderheads to their height, when the sun is about to set, and it just continues on into the nighttime. It's like convection just doesn't stop. It just continues because we got this low. This is a hurricane. This is a tropical depression right here rotating around. And these are the bands off of a very, very strong tropical depression. Okay, and you see it's just going to wipe out this part of Texas from here on down, right there. Okay, let's go. What I might do here while we're getting into a spiritual port. Oh, get my other phone. Oh, it's not plugged in. I was gonna pull up a radar app and just kind of check to see what's going on right here. I might have to check it after the show because I'm running out of time here. So let's just want that playing. All right, so there is your plasma, your energy being relieved from the planet, coming out in that little spike right there, fanning up into the air, spreading out. Being ionized. Magnetic field lines crisscrossing. They tangle. They like to tangle and knot up sometimes. They don't always run smooth when there's not a full circuit. It's reaching around, swirling around, looking for another connection to, complete a circuit sometimes. So you will see it just roil and swirl and dance around looking for, well, why do they have to do this stuff? You guys are just insane. Absolutely insane with ads. The ads are stupid. They're moronic. They're insane. Do you see how sick our society is with these hero wars and the demonic imagery? They're just insane. Okay. Let's get my wide UFO. Right here was this event. Also, and we've seen this thing coming out of the sun or interacting with the sun, probably a couple days right before this video was taken. So keep looking up. You guys are going to start seeing some, this UFO, I think, is also trying to get you to look at this face down here. Whoops, missed it. A lot of times there's other activity going on in the clouds that the UFO is trying to get your attention. 2 eyes, nose, this. And this looks like a pyramid. You can see there's another angle on it. It's like the tip of a pyramid or something sticking up out of the clouds. And much like the image that we saw come off the sun, it was very, very defined triangle, but then faded. You never got to see the back side of it. So it was almost like a tip sticking out of mist. It wasn't a defined, it didn't have, you couldn't make out the base or what was after such defined angles just disappeared into random mist. So we saw the same kind of poking through a dimension type effect off the sun here. And I was, looking for a triangle activity, in the following days. And somebody else caught this. And again, there's spiritual realm activity going on. That's a face right there. That's the face of the entities that are in that craft or something. All right, I've noticed that when I'll see a UFO, there's a face in the clouds, and then I was like, "What is that?" But then I realized, oh, the face is of the race or entity that brought the craft, or I don't know. I think that's what's going on because the faces are different. We're getting different shaped craft and stuff as well. Okay, so all kinds of stuff going on that just defies, your regular explanations from physics and from the media. All right, so a lot of stuff they're not telling you is happening, and when you haven't seen it personally yourself, but it is happening, and when it does start to happen in your region, you'll know why and what it is and what to expect. This could possibly be dangerous. I think if you were outside and this stuff was dancing around you, this main streamer where it's coming out of the ground, right here, you can see it's emanating. This is a very intense beam of it, and it's coming down. It's going back behind the buildings. Seems to be emanating from the ground back behind these buildings here. The rest of this is all floating up into the air. The only spot that's touching the ground is this really intense beam that's going all the way back behind this building, probably making contact with the ground. What you would not want to do is interact with that beam right there. Now, if one of these other little things is, draping along, you saw how it was falling on the ground. In that little segment right there, see how it's falling in between the buildings down into the streets there? This part. Now, the part that's coming out of the sky and reaching down, say if that part reached down and landed on you, I think you would be okay. But you don't want to interact with that one beam that comes directly out of the ground. If you cross that thing, you would make the circuit complete, and imagine getting electrocuted by the planet. All that energy right there coursing through your body. Yeehaw! All right, so don't be surprised to see more of this activity when we get pressure built up and not enough venting processes or spots to relieve pressure. Okay, that's it for your geophysics, your astrophysics. Now it's time to take a deep breath and get into the metaphysics. You guys waited 2 hours and 45 minutes for this, so let's make it worthwhile. Okay, September 10th, 2017, my life turned upside down, backwards, and inside out. Well, what I mean by inside out is now, well, I'm forced to wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, I was a kind of a private guy, and if something like this would have happened to me, I wouldn't have told nobody. Man, what the heck are you thinking? I'm not going to embarrass myself, right? Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. So I have to do what I have to do. Right here, this event happened on Easter over this mountain here. You're looking at a 2,000-year-old prophecy come true. Okay, if you can't see it, tilt your head to the right. Here's Jesus' face with long hair, got a crown above his head, turns into this round lion face with a crown over its head. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, showing up in the clouds as foretold 2,000 years ago. This is a 2,000-year-old prophecy coming true. This is the most important event in the last 2,000 years. It outweighs 9/11, it outweighs World War III, it outweighs every single event in history except for the coming of Jesus. It just does. There's nothing else that can touch it, okay? Earth-shattering headlines, yet nobody knows, nobody pays attention. They don't, it's almost too scary for them to realize, to wrap their head around. But not for the people at this show. The teacher left and went to go make copies of the book, and while the teacher was away, the classroom went into chaos, and the bully is out there picking on people and beating them up, and he's out there just causing chaos. The whole class, the windows are broken, desks are all over the place, but the good kids just want the teacher to come back and all this chaos to end. Well, if you're one of those students that are waiting for the teacher to return for a sense of security from the chaos, well, guess what? You can now breathe. Everybody take a deep breath. Hold it for a few seconds. Let it out nice and slow. I like to sometimes groan or moan during my exhalation. It helps kind of the vibrations of your own kind of calm you a little more. So got a couple things here for you, and we're going to do our reading. Before we get going, let me take a peek, through my chat room here. New York Debs. Okay, Michelle, Jimmy. Does anybody need to see any kind of other videos before I start my reading? Angel Wings, do you need any clarification? Scratch? No, you're doing well. Oh, that's right. So we were talking about the other day I was having issues and I'm screaming and yelling and venting, right? These people, if they only knew, they'd just pull their heads out of their butts, right? Okay, and I was venting, and I was trying to convey to you guys that that's complaining. But if you just say a short, simple prayer before you vent, Jesus help me, these people are driving me crazy, they have no idea what they're doing. Then all of a sudden, your complaint just turned into a prayer, okay? Now, I've been going through this process and practicing that quite frequently with success, okay? It sounds stupid, it sounds crazy, but there is a male in my audience, I won't say your name, you will remain anonymous, who started venting, started screaming, just like I do, stopped, did the Jesus help me, and then went right back to venting again. I heard the whole thing. Oh, it was beautiful. You've got it. You did it right. And then you were astonished how well it worked, right? It was like right after you finished venting, you're like, wait a, whoa, it's gone. It worked. Yeah, you're sitting there in shock that your venting that was frustrating, that you first started off with Jesus help me, please, and then you said your vent was the passionate prayer that I'm looking for, not the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Monotone, no emotion, no feeling, no passion, no, you're not you're not even asking, you're not even praying. Your sincerity, that's where your prayer lies. That's the strength of your prayer, is your sincerity. And the sincerity I heard when you prayed that, well done. Well done. All I have to do is say, I'm happy for you that you are much happier now. You found that tool. It was hard to unlock it. I know when you're just grinding your teeth, it's so hard to say thank you. Please help me. And then continue on with your rant, because then I heard it. And boy, do you feel better. And I'm so thankful that it works and that you gave me a chance, tried it, and found relief. Whew. Okay, so we got that part out of the way. Congratulations, by the way. I'm so happy for you. Okay, now getting to my little thing here. Everybody got your deep breaths in, comfy with your spot. Oh. Okay, as you look at that, I showed you my face out by the moon. You guys understand that one? We don't need to get into that right now. It's too much time being wasted. We're at this point. Everybody breathe. Be at peace. Okay, we've looked at some disturbing stuff, but those are all indicators. Those are all signs that I am God with you for all time and throughout eternity. So don't let the familiarity of that concept numb its impact on your consciousness. Okay? Don't let the familiarity of the concept that I am with you, don't let that numb its impact on your consciousness. Every time you see this show and you hear my voice, it should not numb you. So don't let it become familiar and numb you, okay? My perpetual presence, I am here. My presence with you can be a continual source of joy, springing up from and flowing out in streams of abundant life. Right there. Okay, so my presence with you can be a continual source of joy, springing up and flowing out in streams of abundant life. So, when we talk about streams of abundant life, what would something like that look like? Well, maybe something similar to what you're looking at there. A little bit similar. That's not exactly what we're talking about, but it would be like a visuals of what such flowing streams of abundant life might look like. Okay, so let your mind reverberate with meaning. Okay. My presence with you can be and should be, it is a continual source of joy. It is springing up and flowing out in streams of abundant life. If you guys are practicing what I'm telling you. Now, let your mind reverberate with meanings of my name. Names plural. I have many names. Jesus, which means the Lord saves. Also, Emmanuel, which means God with us, God with you, personally with you. That's Emmanuel. Okay, so I have many names, but it doesn't matter. You need to strive to remain conscious of my presence, regardless of what you call me or what name or how you perceive. Strive to remain conscious that I am now present with you, even in your busiest moments. So talk with me about whatever delights you, whatever upsets you, and whatever is on your mind. Because when you talk with me about that, these tiny steps of daily discipline, taken one after another, will keep you close to me and on the path of life. So it's like practicing a little bit. You know, you want to get good at something, you got to keep practicing. So you take tiny steps of daily discipline. Okay. We're in the salvage business. Tiny steps of salvaging your day, helping other people salvage their days as well. Be the light that shines through and helps other people as well. Okay, so when we're on this path of life, these tiny steps, these daily disciplines, always you got to do it daily, and then sometimes it doesn't work and you're feeling hurt, you're feeling in pain. So come to me when you're hurting and I will soothe your pain. Come to me when you're joyful and I will share in your joy, multiplying your joy many times over. Okay. When you're having a good time and you know you're having a good time with the Lord right there with you, usually most people want to share an experience when they have something good happen to them. They can't wait to share it with somebody, right? So it's good that you share it with me. I share your joy also, and I multiply it many times over, don't I? Because I am all you need just when you need it. Your deepest desires do find fulfillment, but in me alone. Okay. Now we got this this age, this new age, right? Everybody thinks it's all metaphysical, oh, the new age, right? No, I am the master of metaphysics. There's only one metaphysics. There's only one way you will find peace. There's only one peace. It's me. So come to me when you're hurting, and I will soothe your pain. Come to me when you're joyful. I love to share in your joy because the moment you do that, I love to multiply it many times. I am all you need just when you need it. Your deepest desires are fulfilled in me alone. This crazy age, this new guru age, this age of self help. Bookstores abound with books about taking care of number one, making oneself the center of all things, right? The main goal of these methodologies is to become self sufficient and confident, right? Right? That's what you guys want. So that's the main goal of these books, their methodologies. Their main goal is to make you self sufficient and confident. But my family, you, however, have been called to take a road that's less traveled. That road less traveled is called continual dependence on me. True confidence, real confidence, not this new age self help book bull crap. True confidence, you want real confidence? It comes from knowing that you are now complete in my presence. What are you? You are complete. Look at that face in the sky and hear me. You are complete. Your confidence comes from knowing that. True confidence, not cocky, talking, smacking, don't walk the walk. All talk, and no walk, walk. It's all about walking and not saying a thing, right? True confidence comes from knowing that you are now complete in my presence. Do you hear my voice? Here. Complete. You're in my presence. You're complete. If you want. It's up to you. The more you lean into me and the more you trust me, the more complete you become. Do you see this? This makes you complete. Your true confidence, you just got it right there. You have true confidence because it comes from me. It comes from knowing me. It comes from knowing that you are now complete in my presence. Everything you need has its counterpart in me. Know that. Everything you need has its counterpart in me. So come to me when you're hurting and I will soothe your pain. Come to me when you're joyful. I love to share in your joy. I multiply it. Okay. Whew. You guys are holding on awesome. I love you guys. So dedicated. So as you become increasingly aware of my presence, okay, you're aware of my presence, but you can become even more aware. You can become increasingly aware of my presence. So as you become increasingly aware of my presence, you find it easier to discern the way you should go. Don't you? You've tried a few of my little methodologies and they've worked. I'm training you and you're practicing and you're finding results. You find it easier to discern the way you should go. And this is one of the practical benefits of living close to me. Instead of wondering about what is on the road ahead of you, or worrying about what you should do, or when, or you can concentrate on staying in communication with me. All that energy that you spend wondering and worrying should be spent concentrating and staying in communication with me. Okay? Talk to yourself all day long. I don't care what people think when they see you talking to yourself. When you're talking to yourself, you're addressing me. Did you know that? You think you're just sitting there talking to yourself. I'm eavesdropping on your conversation. So you might as well talk to yourself and talk to me. Because that's what you're doing when you're talking to yourself. I'm inside you. So you're talking to me. So as you become increasingly aware of my presence, you find it easier to discern which way you should go. It's a practical benefit of living close to me. Quit worrying and wondering. Spend that energy, concentrate, and staying in communication with me. Or just being aware that, okay, you're in this world with me, okay? I'm with you guys, I'm present. Just that thought in the back of your mind makes you look at the world differently. You run things through a filter now in your head that you never did before. Now, take that energy that you spend wondering and worrying, refocus it on staying in communication. And when you actually arrive at a choice point, I will show you which direction to go. So pretty soon you're going to be so aware of my presence that you'll come to a choice point. It'll be blatantly obvious. Ooh, here's a major choice I have to make. If I do this, that'll happen. Ooh, but if I do that, that'll happen. Ooh, you've come to a major choice point, huh? So when you actually arrive at that choice point, I will show you which direction to go. Just ask. And ask, sit quietly for a minute, and listen for this voice inside, the small voice inside. If you doubt that, ask it again until you hear the voice say the same answer. Okay, now we got a lot of everybody future tripping, and we got a lot of preoccupation with that. Okay, a lot of war going on, a lot of rumors, a lot of election stuff. Many people are so preoccupied with future plans and future decisions that they fail to see the choices they need to make today, immediately. Those priorities that change every once in a while. Many people are so preoccupied with their phone, with the media, with all the happenings that are going on around the world. They're so preoccupied with their decisions and what they're going to do tomorrow and the next day and the next day, they totally fail to see the choices that needed to be made today. And without any conscious awareness, many people make this their habitual response to be preoccupied. So without conscious awareness, they make this failure to make their choices today, and it becomes habitual. They won't make the things today. They'll procrastinate and put it off, but they want to do all the tomorrow things today. But instead of doing today's things today, so you can do tomorrow's things, you put off today's things, procrastinating, and want to jump right into tomorrow's. Stop doing that. Stop doing that for your own mental health. Okay? Quit being so preoccupied with the future plans, preoccupied with your decisions, so preoccupied you fail to see the choices that need to be made at that moment. What's the priority at the moment? Most are totally consciously unaware that, and they make this the habitual response. Now, people who live this way find a dullness creeping into their lives. Everything gets dull. They end up sleepwalking through their days, following the well-worn paths of routine. Well, I just go into routine mode, same thing every day, no change, no just empathy, kind of dull, 9 to 5, same thing every day in, day out, boring. People who live this way find their life boring, dullness creeping into their lives. They sleepwalk through their days. Look around at society and how many people are sleepwalking. Sleepwalking through their days. They're zombies. They have no idea that the spiritual realm exists, that they're a spiritual being. They walk through their days, sleepwalk through their days dull. They're following these well-worn paths of routine. Without change, you just fall into a well-worn path of routine. You're already in one. You just don't know it. Well, maybe some of you are aware of it. But I, the creator of the universe, am the most creative being imaginable, and I will not leave you circling in deeply rutted paths. Circling, going nowhere in a deep rut. You just keep making the rut deeper and deeper, going around and around and around. Dude, get out of the rut, get out of that circle, quit sleepwalking through your days, following these well-worn paths. Get out there and change something. Change something. Change the way you put your pants on in the morning. Change the way you brush your teeth with your left hand. Change something. Or else you're just going to fall into the dullness of the same old circle, deeply rutted paths. So many people just stuck in them. If you don't want that, if you want something different instead, I will lead you along fresh trails of adventure, revealing to you things you did not know. Huh? Do I lead you along fresh trails of adventure? I sure do, don't I? Every show. Do I reveal to you things you didn't know? Oh, you didn't know that you're raptured. That rapture isn't in the book. If you're sitting here right now and you see my face and you hear my voice, you are caught up in this moment. You are caught up in this show. You are caught up with my face in the clouds. You're caught up with me in the clouds. And if you're here listening to my voice and listening to this, we've joined in the air, haven't we? You were changed in the twinkling of an eye. It didn't happen in a split second. It was a change of perspective. Twinkling of an eye does not mean a segment of time or an instantaneous amount of time. Twinkling of an eye is the tweaking of your eye or the change in perspective. Here, you are with me in the clouds. You've met me in the air. I've given you a change of perspective. I do lead you along fresh trails of adventure. I do reveal to you things you did not know. So, stay in communication with me. Follow my guiding presence. I'm guiding you. I'm present. Follow my guiding presence. Okay? One of the most important things I got to convey to you guys: do not expect to be treated fairly in this life. Okay? Sorry. It rains on the just as well as on the unjust. Do not expect to be treated fairly in this life. People will say and do hurtful things to you, things that you don't deserve. But when someone mistreats you, try to view it as an opportunity to grow in grace, which is forgiveness. So when someone mistreats you, try to view it as the opportunity to forgive. Let's see how quickly you can forgive the one who has wounded you. Now, don't be concerned about setting the record straight, and don't be concerned about how quickly you can forgive. All right? It's supposed to be instantaneous because we're Christians, but for some reason down in the heart, it takes a little while, doesn't it? It takes a little time and distance to heal that wound, and then the forgiveness sets in. Grace has set in because you grow in grace. It's not instantaneous grace. You grow in grace. So when someone mistreats you, try to view that now. It's your opportunity to grow in grace, to forgive them slowly over time or whatever. Sometimes you can do it quickly. It's no big deal. I knew it was going to happen. You're forgiven instantly. Other times things are very personal, very wounding. And you can't just do it automatically. It takes a little time. I understand that. Progress, not perfection. Okay, we're making progress. Just as long as you keep going forward and trying to make progress. So when someone mistreats you, use that as an opportunity to practice your forgiveness. Even if it's a slower process, that's okay, as long as you're trying the process. And eventually you'll be able to see how quickly you can forgive the one who has wounded you. Pretty soon you'll understand they know not what they do. It'll be more instantaneously. It'll be a little quicker at least. Okay. Maybe not instantaneously yet, but it will be a little quicker. You will be able to see how you'll be able to do it a little easier. It won't take so much time and distance. And then also, if you can do it instantly, then you can kind of continue on a conversation. Somebody, you're having a conversation with them and they offend you right away, you get mad and you want to end the conversation. But if you've learned this practice and you've grown in grace and you can quickly forgive during that conversation, right at that moment, just swallow hard, pretend they didn't say it. You heard them say that. Don't be offended. Continue to grow in grace and move forward. Don't be concerned about setting the record of how fast you can do it. Don't be concerned about setting the record straight either. Instead of obsessing about other people's opinions of you, because I got a bad habit of that. I am so worried about what people think of me because I'm trying to be a good guy here, and everybody doesn't see it. They hate me. And I don't understand. So, don't be concerned about setting your record straight. Don't obsess about other people's opinions of you. Try not to. It's okay to think about it, but don't obsess. Okay? It's okay to have time and distance between other people for the wound to heal. So don't be, instead of obsessing about their opinions of you, keep your focus on me. Okay? I know it's hard. We always obsess about other people's opinions. But why? When it's my opinion that counts, right? Not theirs. So instead of obsessing about other people's opinions of you, keep your focus on me. Ultimately, it is my view of you that counts. Now, as you concentrate on relating to me, remember that I have now clothed you in my righteousness and holiness. Clothed in my righteousness, you have this new way of thinking. There's this new filter, this white veil, this new white, clean filter way of thinking that's over your mind now. It's a veil of righteousness. You're clothed in righteousness when you're practicing forgiveness and salvation, salvaging your day. I've clothed you in righteousness, how to correct things and fix it. That's your righteousness and holiness. Now, holiness does not mean a goody-goody. Everybody's got the wrong interpretation of holiness here. Holiness means set aside for divine purpose. Holy does not mean that you are a priest. It does not mean that you are a morally perfect person. No. Holy means you've been set aside. There's something about your character that God likes, and He plucked you aside. You've been handpicked. That's what holy means. Set aside for divine purpose. So, as you can see, I have been pulled aside for divine purpose, okay? And I'm trying to fulfill my divine purpose here. You now seeing this image, being here at this channel, understanding me, knowing my presence, knowing you're complete in my presence, having that true confidence now has given you the new perspective, given you strength, joy, peace that transcends even the stuff that's going on in our news. All right. It's important that you try to practice these things. All right. It's progress, not perfection. I get wrapped up in salvaging the day, focusing so much on the salvage itself, than relaxing and letting the process work. So don't get caught up in that little rut too. Okay. The salvaging of a day is important. It can be done. Sometimes the day just doesn't work out, and you don't get that you salvaged it once, but the second one just you couldn't do the second one, and you ended the day on a sour note. That's okay. The next day it's a new opportunity. And if that day doesn't work out perfect and you got 1 for 2, that's okay. At least you got one. Just keep working on them. Don't obsess about perfection each time. It's the knowing that you're trying and that you're making progress that brings your peace of mind. It's just knowing that you're trying. Okay, brings a little peace of mind. You're taking action now. You're not so anxious, you're not so guilty, because now you know you're taking action. At least keep that. Hold on to that. Hold on to this foundation. Hold on to I'm taking action. Practice some of the things that I've told you. They might not work perfectly on the first round. Just keep trying and keep trying, because if you don't keep trying and you give up, you're just going to slip into the slippery hole of self-pity, and then that's depression. It goes right to depression, and once you get to depression, it's kind of out of my hands unless you just totally surrender. Might as well just totally surrender right now. It's much easier. You got a easier way of living, a more joyful, sustainable way of living if you just surrender right now. I surrendered. I was like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And wow, I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. And you will be too. Okay. Maybe if you don't find your success on the first try, on the first, attempt, try and try again. We are overcomers. We don't give up on the first attempt. We attempt and attempt and attempt and attempt until we overcome. There is no attempt. It's just do until you overcome. Continue doing until you overcome. Much like Yoda says, I'll try. There is no try. There is either do or don't do. So do, take action. You might not have the best, perfect success, but know inside your heart that you are making an effort. Because some people aren't. They're not making an effort at all. And compared to them, you're doing good. So we'll try not to compare each other, but know that you're at least taking action. Right? And you're finding relief. That's another thing, recognizing relief when it comes. Yesterday I had the 3 pains. I had the physical, emotional, and spiritual. The affliction, right? One of them disappeared today. And I was so thankful. I will take physical pain and emotional pain over having all 3 of them. So just relief from one feels good. Relief. It's relief. So when you recognize a little bit of relief in your day, thank him for it. Thank Jesus for it. The moment you recognize and acknowledge and thank, That's the moment the door opens wider and more opportunity flows in. You recognize, thank, and then more opportunity. Recognize, thank, more. So it just becomes this rolling ball of snow that keeps gathering more and more the more you practice. All right? I think that's it. I'm getting long in the tooth and short-winded, so I sure love you guys. I really do. It's a word I call unconditional. You guys call it love, but I unconditional you. That means unconditional. But for you to have your own mental health, your own sanity, it's good that you love me back unconditionally. Because the moment you do that, something magic happens to you. You realize who I am and how truly blessed you truly are. And wow, life just begins all over again. You're born anew, aren't you? So it's important that you lean into me and trust me. What you're seeing is real. This is not Photoshop. This is not AI generated bullshit. This is blood, sweat, and tears as I hold my arms up in agony, trying to get as many stable frames as I can before the blood rushes out of my arms and my heart rate gives me a heart attack. This is authentic. And that's what's the best part about it, is its authenticity now completes you. You are now complete in my presence, if you want that. And I know you do. And I'm so thankful for certain individual practicing. It's that one individual that finds it, that practices it, and finds that new way of living that makes all this worthwhile. Okay? That's what made my day better. It was that one person. That one person just trusted me enough that they were laying into their tirade and they stopped and went, wait a second. Brian said, start with Jesus this. And kind of like doubting. You went, yeah, Jesus, these people are doing this. But boy, I heard it. And that's the kind of prayers I like, full of passion, real, authentic, sincere prayers. Not, I want this for Christmas, our Lord. No. You're talking to a real person, your father. It's like asking your dad, honestly, Dad, can I borrow the keys tonight for the car? It's the prom, my date, we're going to dinner. Oh, no problem. You want the vet or you want the Porsche tonight? Ah, see, if you ask and you do it maturely, normally, like an adult. So let's grow up and be normal, mature adults with each other. Okay? I love you all. I miss you all. I will be back. I am already back. You should be able to tell by now. And what you should be doing is spreading the rumor. Because the rumor's true. And imagine if this got around the world before it's too late. Rumor got to some people before they did something stupid. We could possibly change things. I provide hope and courage. Go get them, you guys. Go get them. Be the light. Shine my light through you and go help people. Oh, one last thing. Real quick. Went to Walmart today. I have a spot there where I used to go and panhandle when I was homeless. Okay. Because I was homeless not too long ago. You guys remember that? As I'm approaching Walmart today, there's a Gentleman sitting on my stoop where I used to be, panhandling, and I know what he's doing because that's where all the cigarette butts are, and the refries and the snipes, right? So I recognize exactly what's going on there because been there, done that, right? This gentleman, give him a couple of bucks, and because I want to, because I can relate, I know what a couple of bucks can do at that point. First, I come up to him, like, hey, how's your day going? He says, not going very well. And he's looking at me like, why are you talking to some dirty old homeless guy? And I said, oh, it's okay. I've been sitting there in that spot a couple months ago. I used to spare change here, and you get the cigarette butts. And you know about the spot behind the store, the field, right back behind the store, the safe place? He's like, no. I said, are they harassing you where you're at? He says, no. I go, okay, then you found a good camping site, a good safe place? Yeah. Go, okay, good. I give him a couple bucks and I walk out to my car. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to have a cigarette, and I bet you that guy needs one too, because he's hanging out right next to the ashtray where I used to get my cigarette butts from. Okay. Been there, done that. Not afraid to confess this. This is, this is true. So I handed the man a couple of dollars, went back to my truck. I lit up a cigarette thinking, I bet you this guy could use a couple of cigarettes too. So I took out my old cigarette pack, threw a couple of cigarettes in there, pulled out a $5 bill and kind of folded it up and tucked it down in there. So when he would dig deeper, to get the cigarettes, he would find an added bonus. I gave him a couple bucks, but hey, for a homeless guy to see a 5 on a bill, that makes your day, right? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to slip him a couple of cigarettes and I'm going to sneak a 5 in there. So later on, when he goes to have a cigarette, there'll be an added bonus. And then another thing occurred, and I found a person who was able to give me a nug, and I put the nug in the pack as well. And went up to the gentleman. I said, you know Mary Jane, right? He says, yeah, I miss her. And I said, well, here you go. Have a couple of cigarettes. And I walked away, and that gentleman's day was made. Okay. I knew what he wanted. I knew what would help him feel better that day. Okay. I know a lot of you guys like to help and donate, but try helping your local homeless. Okay. They're the ones that don't. You can give to Salvation Army. You can help that way and do all your donating and stuff that way is fine too. But every once in a while, it's good to reach out to a homeless stranger. Here's a couple bucks and try to make somebody's day a little bit better. I know when I was homeless, it helped me, and I know the feeling. So when I see the guy sitting at the very stoop that I used to be at, it's my pleasure to help him. And an added bonus too, because I know he's still thinking about that to this moment, just smiling, going, dang, that guy made my day. I got cigarettes, money, and a nug. And I feel better. So, anyways, when you give from the heart. You don't need to lecture people. Hey, you're homeless. I'm going to give you $2. Don't use this on booze. Dude, here's a couple of bucks. Get yourself a bottle so you stay warm tonight. I know. Okay. So they don't want to be lectured. Just help. So I don't know. I got creative ways of doing things. You guys got your own ways of doing things. It was just a little incident that happened today. I'm not trying to brag or say, hey, look at me. I'm trying to give you guys real ways, inventive ways, helpful ways of helping your fellow brothers and sisters. Because that's what it's about. Consideration for others. Let's all get together and practice this consideration for others. Okay? That's it for tonight. I love you all. I miss you all. I got to go. I will be back. I am already back, and I'm soon to come. Brian Knight is coming like a lion, and he's God.